Greetings and welcome to House of R, a Ringerverse podcast on the Ringer Podcast Network. I'm Mallory Rubin. Joining me today, now that she's finished dance walking down the street with an evil Peter Parker, it's Joanna Robinson. Hello, Joe.
Mallory, this is the podcast I've been waiting my entire life for.
Tell people what we're doing today.
We are doing our 10 favorite musical moments of the century so far. So the genre-specific film and television. This is our third installment of the sort of best of the century so far series. This is so House of R. I'm so excited for this.
Just the absolute pinnacle of sharing our passions with each other. And there will be laughter. There will be tears. There will be
some
ill-advised singing from both of us.
Correct.
Perhaps even some dancing. This is a video podcast, so who knows?
All right.
We're going to explain all of the eligibility rules and criteria more specifically, and then get into our lists right after this.
This episode of House of R is presented by Target. Have you heard? Stranger Things is back at Target, and it's time to gear up for the Upside Down.
Head back to the 80s with awesome exclusives like the Unreal Demogorgon popcorn bucket, the fog over Hawkins candle that reveals secret messages, and the Demogorgon bundle box that's full of cool surprises.
New items are dropping all season long, so prepare for one last adventure at Target.
All right, Joanna. Before we explain all of the particulars of how we'll be structuring this best of today, some quick programming reminders. There's a lot going on as always. Right. Over on the Ringerverse, the Midnight Boys, pew, 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 potting at the end of this week about Predator Badlands. It seems like everybody loves that movie.
It's across the board popular, seems like. Exciting.
Great stuff. I haven't seen it. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to listen to the pod. Here on the House of R, next week, at the top of the week, we will be concluding our Stranger Things rewatch. We'll be doing Stranger Things Season 4 Part 2, which for our purposes means episodes 7, 8, and 9. And then in the back half of next week, we're doing some movie stuff. Talking about some films. More details to come.
I mean, can I tease something?
You can. We haven't seen the movies yet, so, subject to change, but go for it.
One of them probably stars a newly minted Ringer podcaster, is what I would say.
There you go. I love that. Great tease.
Right?
Yeah, perfect. Oh, man. Joanna, how can everybody follow along?
Oh, my God. I'm so glad you asked. Listen. The Bad Babies have really been showing up recently. The Stranger Things emails have been on point, and even though we only announced that we were doing this podcast 2 days ago, we got so many responses from the Bad Babies of their suggestions for musical moments. So hobbitsanddragons@gmail.com is where you can always reach us with anything if you have thoughts about musical moments, a Christopher Nolan film we haven't talked about yet, your Stranger Things theories, whatever the case may be, hobbitsanddragons@gmail.com. Follow us on the social media platform of your choice. Anyone that you choose. I support you in all your endeavors. Subscribe to the podcast. That's a good idea. Should have started there, but I didn't. But
I would recommend it. Yeah.
Figure out where the podcasts are and subscribe to it. I am really excited about this era of House of R. It's been really, really fun. And I feel like the Bad Babies are really showing up. For this podcast specifically, I might recommend watching it.
Oh, no.
Because not only do we have some clips today, unusual clips today, which we will talk about, but if we do wind up singing, I feel like you're going to want to see that. So we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on Samsung. You can watch us. So,
everywhere.
Why not?
Everywhere. I definitely had, I have this feeling pretty routinely podcasting with you, but I had this very, very acutely and intensely last night, like a real, just can't believe I get to talk about all of these things I love so much with the person I absolutely adore.
I know. I spent the last 2 days just sort of drowning in the topic because, again, we did not plan this very far in advance. We both had absolute meltdowns and panic attacks about it. But I was like, but what a joyous thing to lose my marbles over. This thing I love so much.
There's pleasure in the pain, and that's something. On the spoiler warning front, before we get into a little bit more about what an act of torture this was yet again, and all of the eligibility particulars, what do you want to say on the spoiler front? I mean, I think it's the same one we've been using for the Best of the Century so far series. We've already done speeches. We've already done villains. Check those out if you haven't yet. We're going to do a few more after this, so keep the suggestions coming. Spoiler warning is basically if it came out in the last 25 years, we might talk about it today.
There's a couple things that I'm going to add that I've like kind of want to talk around a little bit. But the problem I would say with like a musical moment is that it is often like a hugely impactful, emotional, often like a climax of a story or something like that. And so it's just like,
it's hard.
We will do our best for things that are not like big and everyone's seen them. Do you know, like, if Thrones comes up today, we're going to assume you guys don't care about Game of Thrones spoilers, but we will be talking about like what the property is before we start talking about it. So if you feel particularly skittish around that, you can skip ahead to the next item.
There you go. Should we get into it? Should we get to the rules?
Let's do it.
How are we pursuing our 10 favorite musical moments of the century so far list building? Here's the process. We are counting down once again from 10 to 1. And once again, our lists are surprises. I don't know what's on your list. You don't know what's on my list. If we have picked the same musical moment, we will discuss it at the higher of 2 spots. If we have something from the same property, but not the same exact moment, we can
do them separately.
Yeah. And then we will probably save our smuggles for the second.
That's what I was going to say.
Location.
Something I was going to suggest is if like, let's say we pick different Thrones moments. When we get to that like top Thrones moment, then we will be like, but also these other Thrones moments.
And we will once again have honorable mentions today. We're going to have a lot of honorable mentions today. We're going to have our honorable mentions. We're going to have your honorable mentions. If you just go to honorable mentions and you're like, what about all these other things that didn't make your top 10 and aren't listed here? They're probably in the top 10 as smuggles, because if they are in a given franchise, we might mention them more contextually there. The time frame. Obvious, but just to say it, January 1st, 2000 through this very moment in time. Now, to be clear, the song that is featured in the given musical moment can be older. A song could be from the 50s, the 60s, whenever, but the rendering, the moment that it was in a film or a show in this particular scene and moment that we're talking about, has to be from 2000 to 2025. Yes?
Yep, absolutely.
What properties are we covering, Joanna?
Okay, this is a TV and film list, as we mentioned. Eventually, we'll probably do something related to books, but
I think honestly, we're just scared because it's just like, how will we possibly do it? It's so hard.
Yeah. We talked about like reading our favorite passages. It's just like, how do you? This would be even harder than this was for us, possibly. So anyway,
that's when we get to the end of December and we're like, we have all these ideas. Let's just keep it going into 2026, and then like next July we do that or something.
Best of the quarter century plus one coming to you next year. But so we're not doing these stage musicals. And to be clear, these do not have to be stage musicals, obviously. Right. For the most part, actually, I did not pick things from actual musicals. Mm-hmm. But film and TV versions of stage musicals are eligible. So if, say, for instance, we want to talk about Wicked that came out last year, we could on this list.
Yes.
But only half of it. So, there's that.
Let's hit the next bullet point in great detail here. Let's really emphasize this one.
This is one that slips by our listeners every single time. And what is the premise of the podcast, Mallory Rubin? It's House of R. We cover genre storytelling. That includes sci-fi, fantasy, horror, anything with like a supernatural element to it is what we would say. We will not be talking about. We got a lot of suggestions for like your Grey's Anatomies or Scrubs came up. A lot of medical shows do music. Scrubs came up a ton in people's suggestions, stuff like that.
Right.
Scrubs has like some fantasy sequences. And so maybe if we really wanted to push for it, we could do something like Scrubs. But we're not going to be talking about Once, an incredible musical that we love. A Complete Unknown, a movie that we enjoyed together. Or this is an example you put in here, and it's just absolutely brilliant. Landry and Crucifix Victorious rocking out on Friday Night Lights. That is
not eligible today, sadly.
So, I know in the comments you guys are going to say, but I can't believe you missed, and it's going to be something from a non-House of Our property. I can't stop you, but we have to say it. So,
and now we have. We also want to emphasize that the exercise today is to list our favorites.
Yeah.
These are our favorite things. So it's not necessarily like a comprehensive list. It's not designed to reflect consensus over what was the best or the most impactful or animated the zeitgeist the most. Maybe all of those things will apply to certain picks, but maybe not. They're the moments that mean something to us and that we chose for reasons that we will explain as we go through the list.
I will say that, like, you know, so I went on Blue Sky and Twitter and sort of put out a call for people to come, because you and I were both afraid that there was something obvious we were going to miss. And we were just like deathly afraid of that, right?
Yeah.
I will say, though the Bad Babies showed up incredibly on both of those platforms and in the email inbox, it actually didn't change my list at all. But it was relief to know that like there wasn't anything that I didn't already have on my list that, like, you know, with one exception, which we'll talk about when we get it. It's on your list. But that being said, I would get like a large volume of responses of a different musical moment from
a property.
A property. And I was like almost pulled. I was like,
that happened to me a lot.
Should I do the one that everyone says it should be? And I was like, no, I'm going to do the one that I actually think is, so.
This is interesting because we both love music, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. This is like one of your passions, right? Musicals, musical moments. So from the second we decided to do this, you were, I think it's fair to say, euphoric and at a transcendent state of jubilation, and also like, should we do 50 instead of 10? How is this going to be possible?
I did ask you to expand the list.
You did send me like a midnight text.
Uncharacteristically, I was like, can we do more? And uncharacteristically, Mallory said, no, we have to stop somewhere. So
I wanted to say yes, and I felt such a sense of rare certainty that if we allowed ourselves to go beyond 10 in this case, that we would just be like doing 100 by whatever the final pot is, which maybe would be fun. Maybe we should. I will say, though, in a way that surprised me, I had the hardest time with this of the three we've done so far. Like, once I actually got to, same as always, like, immediately wrote down like 15 things that I'm like, these are going to be contenders. And then you start, okay, I'm panicking. What am I missing? And on the panic front, the thing that I was most worried about was actually, I mean, I'm always worried about, are we going to miss something obvious and be embarrassed? Obviously, that's just like a crippling aspect of podcasting.
The natural state of a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. What I was really worried about, and frankly, even after cementing a list that I feel great about, am still worried about, is not that I have forgotten something that other people are going to be like, how could you forget X? It's that I have forgotten something that I love. Like that I have said on pods many times before. This is one of my favorite things in the world. Now, granted, I'd say I have the tendency to be like, this is one of my 5 favorite things, and say that about 500 things. So what are you going to do? But I am
right. But if you've gone
that
on
I have forgotten,
length,
I've forgotten something that I'm like,
Mallory
this is just deeply important to me.
Loves this moment, and
you know what? And if that happens, I don't know what to say about it, other than there are a lot of things that have come out in the last 25 years that we love. Joanna, let's talk about the other. This is a big one. The diegetic sound aspect of this, how we are considering what musical moments can actually be included today. So diegetic sound, this means sound that exists in the scene, inside of the fictional universe. The characters can hear it. They are creating it. It is not just audible to us at home. So if a character is singing or dancing or even just listening to music, playing music, but they can hear it, they have put it on the record or whatever the case may be, they're thinking about something, they're swaying to it, they are engaging with it, it is eligible for selection today. And so that does mean, because we initially were like, needle drops may be a completely separate thing, and broadly they are, pop songs, like songs from records, can be included today if the characters
listening to it on a Walkman, turning on the radio, whatever the case may be.
Could be.
That counts if they can hear it.
Yes. I tried to limit those picks though, but I have a couple, I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
I tried to limit the ones where people are just going to be like, is that just a needle drop though? But I do have a couple.
I have one that is a slight fudge, but it is no more a fudge than the one that I know you and I have in common, and I'll explain why. There's only one that I know we have in common. So
interesting. Okay.
Because like a diegetic moment can also then like play over a montage. That's sort of the gray area.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Did at some point in the sequence a character in the scene engage with the music, then it's eligible today.
Right. Okay. Because we got a lot of nominations for like The Light of the Seven, a piece of Game of Thrones score that we love. That would not count. Or a lot of needle drops, but those don't count. So,
an example that is not eligible for today just because it's not a genre pick, it's not a House of R property, but we'll use to explain, like, if anyone's like, what the fuck are you guys talking about right now? Kendall. Rocking out, dancing in a supremely intense moment in his life. In the season 1 Succession finale, dancing to Whitney Houston, that counts. Yeah, that's a needle drop. But they're at a wedding and they hear the song and they're engaging with it. So like that would count by that rule. But
navigating that rule, like making sure I have something that is not a needle drop was a really fun exercise in like the concept of sound design.
Yeah.
Because there's like ways in which I want to talk about a specific example that's not on my list, but I can't guarantee it's not on your list, so I'll leave it off. But there's ways in which like something starts out and the sound design has made it very clear that it's just playing in the room, and then it will open up and sound more like a needle drop. Do you know what I mean?
Of those.
Yeah. And that's fine, but that's just like fun to think about the way in which sound design informs how we're receiving this piece of music.
Well, let's go from there right into the last thing that we wanted to talk about before we get into sharing our lists with each other and all of you, which is what makes a musical moment magical, meaningful? What makes it impactful and resonant in the first place? What makes it something that you're thinking about potentially 25, 24, 23 years later? Maybe it's 6 months later, who knows? We'll see what the recency bias or primacy bias is on our list. How much of it is about overall, whether it's score, what aspect of the sound design can do to you. We've talked about this a lot in many stories that we've covered. We talk about it a lot with Star Wars, right? When the Force theme kicks in, it ports you to a place. When the lightsaber activates, it ports you to a place. Sound is such an important part of how we relate to and form connections to the fictional universes that we love to inhabit. So how much of it is the music itself? How much of it is about the characters and where they are in their stories and their journeys, where we are in the show or the film at that given point? How much is about the surprise of it? Like when a musical moment wallops you because you had no reason to expect that you were about to receive it. I'm curious for your thoughts on all of this, and just in general, if any themes, without tipping the picks, like if any themes emerged for you when you were settling on what made your final top 10? Like what through lines or patterns were there?
There's a thing that happens to me that I can't describe when a musical moment like really hits. Not every moment on this list, but there's just like some specific examples. Like even my number 10, I remember this feeling of like, it's like I'm soaring. Like there's just like a lightness in my chest, and I just feel like I've been transported to another level of absorption of a story. And it's not every musical moment can achieve that, but there's and it was funny. I'll talk about this more when I get to my number 10. But there was like a part of when I dug into how it was made, I was like, oh, that's why that happened to me with that moment. But like something that my personal musical theater Yoda Stephen Sondheim liked to say a lot when he was live was if you could take the song out and it doesn't leave a hole, then the song's not necessary, right? And so like, this idea of just sort of like, is it absolutely essential to this moment? And some of it is like underscoring an important emotional moment in the story, but some of it is also just like woven into the fabric of the plot. So if you could take it out and it's the same, then, why do it? So I don't have anything on here that doesn't feel absolutely crucial and essential to what is happening in the story in that moment.
I think.
Also in terms of like performance, that I don't think it matters if it's done perfectly. I think it matters if the emotion is authentic. And so there's one entry that I could not leave off the list, and I care about it a lot, but it does use a little bit of auto-tune. But in general, if I can like hear auto-tune on something, it drives me absolutely batshit, because the purpose of a musical performance, I would rather have someone sing it poorly,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
give me all that emotion
Yes.
than like have something that's just sort of like flattened and perfected in a way that just like drains it of its resonance. So,
Totally.
you know, that's something I was thinking about a lot. There's a couple great examples of that, of people who are not singing very well, but just like absolutely kills me. And again, actually not all, and I don't, maybe not even most of my picks are singing, but like that's something I was thinking about a lot. And then music as it exists, you know, there's another adage of musical theater of like, if you can't say it, sing it. If you can't sing it, dance it. Like this is like this sort of like escalation of like confessional, opening up of emotion. The emotions are too big to simply say them, so I must sing them, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So emotionality, the way in which music connects us, the way in which music can allow us to exist inside of that moment after we've watched it. So there's a needle drop that means, or a musical moment that means a lot to us inside of a story. I love it when they play this song on a record and then later you could just listen to that song. I've got a song on my list that became my number one Spotify most played song that year.
Same. Yeah.
Because,
this happens to me all the time.
You know, because I just wanted to live inside of that experience. And so that's just like an incredible thing that music could do. And then just sort of like plot wise, how we gather around as like consumers of story and is part of the human experience. It connects us. It can connect us ancestrally, can connect us to our community. It's just like such an important human thing that we do, that I am so overjoyed that we get to celebrate together. So
I love all of that. I mean, you know, thinking of just like in general, the way people connect to music, which obviously is so individual and so like intimate and personal, and the songs or artists that people gravitate towards. Sometimes it's because the poetry of the lyrics really reaches you. Like sometimes it's because of the way it sounds. Sometimes it's because you met a friend who loved them too, and that became a part of a meaningful experience in your life. Like there are any number of reasons, but the same thing that makes me like love a song. Like I will, when I discovered, this was particularly true for like, and this is real, you know, real like hits bong one stuff from Teenage Mal, but like, you know, you like, oh, you listen to like a Dylan song for the first time. I would just listen to it like 100 times in a row. It'd be all I did, right? Just like when I saw Ordinary People for the first time, all I did, I rewatched it every day, right? Like that's just my relationship to this stuff. So it's also my relationship to these moments and stories that I love. And I think it's kind of a like exponential impact then, because the music is giving you that inside of a story, a show, a film with a character who you feel that way about already, where you're just like, I have an attachment that is so deep and it has been heightened in a way that is like supremely meaningful to us when that happens. I mean, everything that you said about, you know, expression. And I love when characters are put in a moment that is so. Now, how many people break out in song and dance in real life? I don't know. I guess that varies person to person. But when people do turn to music, either to listen and think or to try to express something that maybe you cannot put into words, and to see characters do a thing that feels like such a part of the everyday experience of like why people form a connection to a given song or artist, I really love. And I think just like you said, what music can invoke is so powerful and meaningful. And like a definite theme of my list, not like all 10 of them, not all 10 of them, but a through line I would say is like the idea of these moments is incursions, like in a good way, right? I was not expecting so-and-so to sing or so-and-so to dance or so-and-so to put that song on the record, and then they did, and it just like floored me. And so many of these moments are things that I return to, and I love returning to them, and that's why they're on the list. But also I have like vivid memories of what it felt like to see them for the first time. The way that I felt like pushed into my couch or the chair in the movie theater or whatever the case may be.
Pushed into, or like, and then also just like pulled closer out to the story. Yeah. And I love thinking about it in terms of specifically what we cover, because, you know, something I remember so distinctly when we were covering House of the Dragon and you were talking about the Vagar sequence, claiming the dragon sequence, and tying it back to something you and Jason talked about a lot on Binge in terms of like what the fantastical can do to communicate, something in the fantastical can do that straight fiction cannot do in terms of like really driving into how big emotions can feel. We talked about this when we talked about Buffy. Like, what if the like pains of adolescence were literal monsters? You know what I mean? And so it's sort of like that idea of like bigness, enormity that these fantastical sci-fi horror elements bring to a story. That's what sort of like a musical moment can do. Not necessarily putting on a record, but bursting into song, dancing, or then what that record sort of brings out in you.
Yeah.
Like, I just think we're not a podcast that covers musicals, despite the fact that I love talking about musical moments, but it is really hand in hand with the kind of storytelling that we often resonate with. So.
Yes. This absolutely. I think the through line of my list, unsurprisingly, is just emotional response, either in me or the characters or both.
Correct.
I'm really excited. I'm always excited for the honorable mentions. Like, I'm really excited for the honorable mentions today. Like, there were a lot of things that I found quite painful to leave off the list, but that was
horrifying.
I would say almost always that, and not to say there aren't things in the honorable mentions that elicit a strong emotional response in me, but like, there are definitely things in the honorable mentions list where I'm like, that animated the zeitgeist. That was like conceptually so riveting,
right?
But that became a meme in a way that feels so of a piece with the internet era. Like, those are all really cool and meaningful things to me, and they're definitely in my top like 15, top 20.
Right.
But when it came time to decide between A or B, I was like, did this one make me sob? That was usually the tiebreaker. So
I have mostly
a lot of tears.
Did this make
today.
me sob? But I have a couple that I'm just sort of
good.
Like, this is just like an extremely cool moment.
I'm glad. Yeah. Should we get to it? Any other big picture opening thoughts about list conception or structure or anything else?
I know it was horrible to pick only 10. Really horrible. But also
terrible.
How lucky we are. Like, reading through all the Bad Baby responses and stuff like that. Like, how lucky we are to have celebrated these last 25 years of film and television together. I know.
All right, I'm so excited.
Me too.
Let's get to it. Let's get to our top 10. What is your number 10?
This is the only entry I have on the list that I don't have a clip for because, and we should say,
yes.
Should we say, legally we cannot play any of this music for you all. If you were hoping to tune in and hear a bunch of clips from shows about the music, we can't do that. But we tried to pick like premise setting clips to give you a sense. But legally, we cannot play these songs. So that's just where we are today. So in this sequence, I know you don't have this, so I'm not gonna play the usual Go Fish with you. In this sequence, there was nothing around it that would help. So I don't have a clip today because this is from the Mike Flanagan Netflix series Midnight Mass.
I do not have this.
I know
I'm
you
scared.
Don't. And it is from episode 3. And it is the Neil Diamond song, Holly Holy. And I'm going to explain why it's here. This is one of the first things I wrote down.
Okay.
This was the one that wound up being my number one Spotify most play song. I had probably heard it, but never engaged with it before I saw it here in this show. The premise of this song playing is, and this is why I'm allowed to use it as a non-needle drop, is Ed and Annie, played by Henry Thomas and Kristen Lehman, put this record on the record player, and they start the sequence by dancing to it, and they end the sequence by dancing to it, and the record ends. And so that is the bookend of a 4.5 minute song that plays in its entirety inside of episode 3 of Midnight Mass. Wow. And it is, I'm not even a huge Neil Diamond fan. This is such a good song. And I will say, I don't want to spoil everything that happens in Midnight Mass necessarily, but it is definitely a genre story. And the premise of where we find ourselves in episode 3 is that a new priest has come to this tiny island community. He has performed a miracle on a teenage girl who was wheelchair bound. Now she can walk. And we watch over the course of this 4.5 minutes, several characters interact and connect to the tune of the music, and also his congregation swell. And so we see a couple different instances of him played by the great Hamish Linklater, walking down the aisle of the church, and the camera's on this like crucifix that's being held aloft behind him, and it's sort of swaying to the music. And I was just like, not sure why this hit me as hard as it did. And then I was investigating into like, Mike Flanagan, why did you pick this song? Why is it here, et cetera?
Yeah.
Holly Holy was written into the script years before we filmed it. I grew up with Neil Diamond, blah, blah, blah. I'd listened to it over and over again, blah, blah, blah. In the case of Holly Holy, in the screenplay, each line of the song is written into each little scenelet of the montage to make sure it timed out properly. And on the set, we'd play just whatever line from the song was needed for the shot so the actors could synchronize with it.
Yeah.
Because the Holly Holy montage is made up of so many locations and characters, because we do check in with everybody. It was shot in pieces over the entire course of production. It made it very funny for the crew. After we'd shoot a scene, I'd say, okay, now we're grabbing our next piece of Holly Holy montage. And we play the 5 seconds of the song that we were covering that day. Out of order, spread out over many months. It seemed entirely nonsensical, but everything had to time out just right. A lot of times we don't know what song we'll end up using in the finished product. That's a choice we make in editorial. But in the case of Midnight Mass, a lot of the songs were so specifically written into the script that it was like choreographing a dance. And that's what it feels like. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like watching the sequence. Is not, sometimes these are done, as he says, masterful work by whoever's editing the stuff together and make it all feel like it belongs to the music. But this was specifically, it's like watching beautiful choreography.
Yeah.
And it's not, people aren't dancing in these moments, but they're like sneaking out of their window at night, or they're, encountering each other on the street. Or in one case, like a villainous character is carrying a bottle of rat poison to the closet, like there's just something, but to the beat of the song in a way that I didn't realize was so intentionally done. This is an incredible miniseries, Midnight Mass. It's super rewatchable. It's very scary, super rewatchable. This is like such a potent sequence. I'm so impressed by what he put together here. I cannot believe he let the entirety of a 4.5 minute song play out inside. It's like an audacious thing to do. The last thing I'll say is that, because I know you don't have anything from the Flanagan verse in here. A lot of the Bad Babies recommended, from Midnight Mass, they also sing this hymn, Nearer My God to Thee, at the end of that was one that some people recommended, but also in The Haunting of Hill House, there's, in the Bent Neck Lady episode, there is a sequence set to the song Heavenly Day, which I told you already. I watched the YouTube clip of last night and was sobbing. Then I had to watch the whole episode, the Bent Neck Lady, and like sobbed through it. And then I had to watch the finale so that I could feel a little bit better about where the characters are inside of a show that has an episode called The Bent Neck Lady. So like that is an incredible use of music. It's sort of like a ghostly induced hallucination. So she's dancing through the haunted house and she thinks she's dancing with someone she's loved and lost. And then it cuts out and you just see her dancing by herself and the music cuts out and it's just like,
I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen that on the internet.
Yeah. It's so upset.
Yeah.
It's devastating.
Oh,
it's so good. So anyway, Mike Flanagan, I love. I love you and would never inflict a Mike Flanagan show on you because I know it's too scary, but I wanted to honor Holly Holy. When I played it for myself, I had my headphones in and I just like played it 5 times in a row. Yeah. Like just as I was like, I just love it. So
great pick. It sounds incredible.
Number 10. It's my most cheaty sort of needle droppy smuggle into.
I think it sounds well within the bounds of what is permissible today.
Thank you.
And what a great way to highlight rhythm and harmony in a creative form.
Right. That's something that, I have an entry later where I actually asked the creator about it and he was like, oh, actually we played a different song on set when we filmed this and then we decided it was wrong and we put this other one in. So that can also work. But like the fact that this was so intentionally designed is very transportive to me.
Love it. Great way to start. My number 10, I don't think you have.
Okay.
But do you have anything from Pixar?
I don't.
Okay. Carlos, can you play my clip?
Miguel, you apologize to your Mama Coco.
Mama Coco?
Well, apologize.
Mama Coco, your papa, he wanted you to have this.
I'm already crying.
I don't know how I'm going to get through the pod today. Honestly, I don't know how I'm going to get through the pod today. So my number 10 is Miguel singing Remember Me to Mama Coco in the 2017 instant classic Coco. This is a story about a boy who loves music in a family where music has been banned across the generations. And Miguel ends up making a trip to the land of the dead, and a lot of incredible things happen. And if you haven't seen this movie, you should, but I'm going to talk about some of them now anyway. Yeah. Miguel meets Hector. And Hector is desperate to visit his daughter before she forgets him. And the movie spends a lot of time, the story spends a lot of time on this idea of like what it means to be remembered or forgotten. And this idea that if nobody is around anymore who remembers you or who has a reason to remember you, that the memories that people carry of you, that is what keeps you alive, either as an idea or something more tangible on some plane, whatever that plane might be. The eventual reveal, spoiler, that Ernesto is a cheat and a thief and a fraud, and that Hector is really the creator of these cherished songs and also Miguel's ancestor and Coco's father, is like such a wallop. And Miguel returns to the land of the living, and as we just saw a tiny piece of, sings Remember Me to Coco, the song from her father for her, and then it just brings her to life. Like the way that it animates her and revives her lucidity and like restores her spark. And then, of course, the way that it completely heals this family through like truth and clarity, but also this shared tie of song. Hector's memory is kept alive, and the family is reunited around this new clarity and this new truth. And then music becomes not a thing that they are ashamed of or hide from, but the centerpiece of their shared experience and their newfound joy. And like, it's an incredibly beautiful song. I mean, this song won the Oscar. Like, this is just a great song. And one of the things I love about it so much and really appreciate it about it is how it like, it's deployed, I think, 4 times across the film. It's deployed multiple times across the film, and we understand something different about it each of those times because we have new context, new understanding, but it's only at the very end that we really are able to appreciate what this was always meant to be. And this is one, again, this will be a theme today, but this is one where like, I saw this movie when it came out of the movie theater, and I sat there and I sobbed with like a bunch of strangers around me. I just wept freely and like
racking sobs in this moment in the movie.
And you know, the lyrics are so beautiful and there's a simplicity and a sweetness to them, but it kind of like enhances the potency of them. Remember me, though I have to say goodbye. Don't let it make you cry. For even if I'm far away, I hold you in my heart. I sing a secret song to you each night we are apart. Remember me. And another thing I have a really vivid memory of is like talking to people, friends, colleagues in real time, like when this movie came out, about how emotional this made them. And for all sorts of people, but like a lot of people with kids, you know, were basically like, I kind of like almost couldn't handle this song and thinking about this song. It made me so deeply emotional. And it's one of these things where I'm like, I watch this sequence and I listen to it and I have such a, just me right now in my life and where I am in my life, I have such a deep connection to it and it moves me so sincerely. And then I'm also like, do I want kids when I hear this? You know, like, that's a pretty amazing thing, right? Yeah. So I knew that this was something I wanted to have on my list. I wasn't sure where exactly, but it made the cut at number 10.
Perfect pick. Perfect pick. And I love exactly what you're highlighting when we first hear it is this like cheesy ballad, you know what I mean? And honestly, that's how they performed it at the Oscars. I was like kind of surprised that they went with that. I would have just had a guy with a guitar play it at the Oscars, but yeah, this moment is just absolutely killer. It's the sort of, to me, I think Coco is my favorite Pixar, and to me, it is the epitome of that Pixar. Well, Bing Bong and Coco sort of like tied as like sort of the epitome of Pixar emotionality. So yeah,
opening 10 minutes of Up. I'll throw that in as well.
Oh, absolutely, of course.
Oh man.
This episode is brought to you by Target. Listen up, explorers. Stranger Things has returned to Target, and the Upside Down is calling.
Don't miss your chance to grab some epic exclusives like an AirPods case shaped like a mixtape cassette, the totally tasty Doritos Stranger Pizza and Cool Ranch chips, and the Demogorgon Crunch cereal.
New items are dropping all season long, so prepare for one last adventure at Target.
What is your number 9?
Okay, well, I meant to note this. My number 10 is from 2021.
Oh,
so
yes.
I've just,
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. No one made me do this. I limited myself to one superhero pick.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you have anything from any X-Men property?
I don't.
There's so many incredible superhero picks.
Yeah.
This is unusually mine. This is from 2014's X-Men Days of Future Past. Carlos, will you play this clip?
I'm amazing. I love that this is here. It's a great one.
Again, this is the one I was talking about where I was like, this is just fun. It's not emotional. This is if you there was no context for you in the clip necessarily. And again, we could not play the song, but what we played was the aftermath of the sequence in X-Men Days of Future Past when our heroes are cornered. Charles can't do anything. Eric can't do anything. Logan can't do anything. But they've met this kid played by Evan Peters.
Hell yeah.
It's Quicksilver himself, and he puts his headphones on and Time in a Bottle by Jim Croce plays, which was used again to great effect by Marvel as a needle drop. And everything slows down, and he cheekily zooms around this kitchen where all of these like people are about to have their guns drawn on our heroes, and just tweaks things, nudges bullets, moves people's arms, and does all this stuff as time slows down for him. It is such an incredible I know that there are way bigger superhero musical moments and more obvious ones, but I thought of this one and then I couldn't talk myself out of it.
Yeah.
I have another reason to do that. It's Evan Peters based, but this was like the great schism inside of superhero properties where we had two Quicksilvers, right? We had Aaron Taylor Johnson in Age of Ultron, and we've got Evan Peters here. And so there's two approaches to how do you show a speedster, right? Do you just show them sort of like zooming around? And like, I like Aaron Taylor Johnson as Quicksilver better than most people, but like, this is such a creative way to show us the superhero, the power set of this character. And they do it, they repeat it again, of course. They do another musical montage for Quicksilver, another movie. So like, but Evan Peters is just like having so much fun.
Yeah.
It's such a joyous moment. The music is essential. He's listening to it. It is like what he does to get into this mode. And the lyrics are cheeky, of course, Time in a Bottle, like all this sort of stuff like that. So I really loved this. The Evan Peters based reason is I'm going to smuggle in here his work on the American Horror Story franchise, because there's a number of American Horror Story episodes in American Horror Story Double Feature and American Horror Story Freak Show where Evan Peters sings, and he has a great singing voice. He does Islands in the Stream with Francis Conroy in Double Feature. He did a great Come As You Are in Freak Show. So I just want to honor Evan Peters as this like great musical performer of genre television and this superhero moment, which I just like, which is so tied to X-Men superheroism, you know what I mean? It's just so tied to this concept of like, what is your ability? And it is this like represented in this musical moment. So that's why it's here.
This is a dynamite pick.
Thank you.
This is an absolutely great one. It's, you know, we obviously now, like, after the evolution of Ralph Boner, actually really enjoyed it, talking about Ralph Boner. It's become a cherished fave of ours as a thing we get to spend time with. But, you know, before we got to the original, oh my God, we've been Ralph Bonered of it all during WandaVision. Yeah. Those days on the internet, when Evan Peters knocked on that door and we're like, oh my God, it's happening. Quicksilver is here. He's here. The clip, the moment that you picked here, I would say was the thing that people were sharing with each other, like the most in the world. It's like, we get to do this again. Holy shit. And then we didn't. But
right. And I think it's important that this is inside. I mean, people like Days of Future Past, but inside of an X-Men franchise that just sort of like got worse and worse and worse. But Quicksilver was like always welcome. And it was sort of like putting Andrew Garfield in a better Spider-Man movie. Like, can we port this character and this performance that we really like into a better era of superhero storytelling? So, yeah.
Great pick.
That's my pick from 2014.
This is a blast so far. I love this. Okay. My number 9. At the beginning of the pod, I was like, I feel like we definitely have a couple of the same things. I think I feel sure about 2 others. I think we might also have this on both of our lists. Do you have anything from The Leftovers?
I do.
Okay. I assume it's the same thing as mine, but I don't know how to find out for sure. Does yours involve karaoke?
No, but I'm like, could not be more excited that you put, this is what I was talking about when I was like, everyone expects me to do this and I did something else. I am
great.
Thrilled.
Oh, Chris, this is great.
That you have done this.
I did consider this possibility too, that you would.
It's like you've done me a service. So thank you for doing it.
Okay, so then in that case, wow, this is wonderful. In that case, Carlos, play my clip for number 9, please.
Who's next? Anybody?
You're right. Don't do it. Stupid.
How about you, officer? You want a turn?
Okay.
Instant tears again.
I know. I'm a mess. I'm like trying so hard to stay composed, but it's very difficult. My number 9 is Kevin singing Homeward Bound in the season 2 Leftovers finale, I Live Here Now, from 2015. This is an incredible episode in one of the best seasons of television ever made, in a tremendous show that we both adore. I'm not surprised that you have a pick coming from it. It was like really important to me to have a Leftovers pick at some point in this series, probably multiple points in this series. So
that makes me happy.
Yeah,
we haven't talked that much about the Leftovers, you and I.
No, we haven't. Yeah, this was also one. This happened with a number of these where like you revisit a scene and like texting Adam, like, we got to do a whole rewatch of Thing X now. You know, it happened with like so many things prepping for this, but
I watched 3 episodes of The Leftovers in prepping for this.
Time to do a Leftovers rewatch now. Yeah. It's basically impossible to not want to do that after watching this. Do
you want to set the stage?
Yes. Yeah, so Kevin has been shot. He wakes in this plane, this Land of the Undead. He's back in this hotel. Goes down to the lobby. A woman is performing Angel of Mine. Or Angel of the Morning. Excuse me. Angel of Mine would have also been iconic. Angel
also very good.
That would have been great. Yeah. Angel of the Morning. After Kevin has refused to sing, and then our guy, Bill Camp, is there. And he's telling Kevin that he must sing in order to return, in order to go back to the living, to his life. And Kevin is very resistant, and then, very dubious, and then goes and spins the wheel, and it assigns him Homeward Bound, Simon and Garfunkel, which is one of my favorite songs, one of the themes on my list, and the creators, talk about this when it happens, is like, sometimes if it's on the nose, not only is that not a problem, it's actually helpful. That will be coming into play with another one of my picks in a major way.
For the shots of cigarettes and magazines.
Cigarettes and magazines paired with actual shots of cigarettes and magazines is, really something. Why do you want to go back? Because I have a family, because I love them, and I need to see, yes, you love your family. It's not your time. Still got so much to live for. Oh, come on. Be original, mate. Why should you go back and the rest of us be stuck? Because I deserve to. It's builds and builds. They're talking about like this idea of singing. It's stupid, right? Kevin Garvey says in this scene, it's stupid, which like has to be said before what happens next. And then Bill Camp says, the trial. It's beneath you. It's not elegant enough. Too easy. You pushed a little girl into a well. You don't want to sing? This is just like an incredible TV moment. And then Justin
Bill Camp,
Thoreau,
we should say, is like playing God.
Yes.
Perhaps.
Justin
This is
Thoreau.
a great Bill Camp performance.
Oh my God. I just like made for Accent Corner with Joanna Robinson.
Oh yeah.
Justin Thoreau, who there's a lot of great interviews around this season of television, this episode, this sequence. There's a Ben Travers oral history for IndieWire that's really fun and worth reading. And the way that Justin Thoreau's quotes are deployed in that, which is just like 20 versions of, I really did not want to do this, and it made me deeply uncomfortable, and I hated it. And you can feel that, and it unlocks everything in the scene. And the way that Kevin, as he goes up there and performs this song, performs Homeward Bound, the shift that we watch on his face from this extreme, dug in, active vocal resistance and skepticism and doubt into real time, like reflection and despair and longing, and the like his nose is dripping and the
snot
tears
is running.
and like
the snot is running
mouth.
into his mouth as he's singing.
It's just unbelievable. I think like a couple of the specific moments, the way that he starts to break, like the first crack, actually the cigarettes and magazines verse, when we're okay, it's happening. Like my actual life is flashing before my eyes. But when he gets to every stranger's face I see reminds me that I long to be homeward bound. And then when he says, I wish I was, like the way that his voice starts to crack and he starts to just crumble. And then this is such a beautifully shot scene because it has this like, this ethereal, the lighting and the framing. So we have this stretch where we're viewing him really like close, tight framing, and the blue light is bathing him. The moment, just looking at his face when he sings, I need someone to comfort me, I think is like in the running for one of the best moments in television history. In that IndieWire oral history, Mimi Leader, who directed this episode, has a lot of really, there's a ton of great stuff from our guy Lindelof. Let me spoil something for you that's not going to be a spoiler for you or anyone listening to any of our podcasts ever. This is not my only Damon Lindelof pick today, folks.
Correct.
I said, quote, good, I don't want you to be a singer, in response to Justin Thoreau being like, I can't sing. I don't want you to sound good. I just want you to sing. I want you to want to go home. I want you to want to go home. Like that is the truth and the essence that has to be captured there. And I mean, I'm a sucker for any kind of like King's Cross way station sequence. As you know, I really love this stuff, but this is such a purposeful and artful and uncomfortable and raw version of it, as is so often the case with Lindelof stories. And I think it's just like not only a beautiful scene and a beautiful moment for Kevin in an incredibly brilliant season of television, but it's also, I think, a symbol of like how TV shows can reinvent themselves and what they can achieve when they're given the time and the space to grow and change. And so it is very meaningful to me for that reason too. And I'm definitely going to have to do an entire series rewatch now. Homeward Bound.
The way it ends with home where my love lies waiting silently for me, and we get Carrie Coon's face, Nora's face. makes actually all the other flashes worth it to me because like they're all so on the nose.
Yeah.
And then we get to that. I'm like, okay, but this is so good.
I know.
Yes, I have something from the leftovers. We will talk about it later. We'll
I'm
talk
excited
about
for your pick.
Lindelof again there, but like this idea of love as the port, as the bridge, as the connective tissue to get you through a supernatural moment is so corny. And you have to be so good at what you do to make something so nakedly emotional absolutely land. And Lindelof does it every time.
I know. It's amazing. It's just a true gift.
No one else does it like him. Plenty of people do great stuff, but no one does this like Damon Lindelof, I think. And if it hits in a way that like we just talk about forever. And so, yeah, this Kevin Garvey moment, this Justin Theroux moment, I love how bad he is at singing. This is what I was referencing when I meant like, and there's another pick that I think you have, I think that falls under that category, but like, it doesn't matter. It is better that he can't sing. And if they had like auto-tuned him or overdubbed him with someone else's voice, like that's just,
then it's not a trial.
No. I love that. I love when Bill Camp says, it's not elegant enough, right? Kevin wants like something big and grandiose and he has to go up and sing karaoke to get home.
Spin the wheel.
And it's another thing that Lindelof, or particularly The Leftovers, does so well is that combination of like pop culture and sort of the poetic and the supernatural, right? This is like a pop song. Yeah. A folk song, but a pop song, one you and I both, I love Simon and Garfunkel.
Same.
Like, a song that we love, a song that, I have heard a million times before I watched The Leftovers, but then it is like redefined and transformed by this moment.
And this is an association that is inextricable from your experience with the song forever after this. They talk about this in the Travers Indie Wire oral history too, but they wanted to use like a prayer. They wanted to use Madonna. And it's funny to think about that alternate history, but I do love that it's on the wheel.
Yeah,
I do love that it's on the wheel. It's just great.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What is your number 8?
Do you have anything from the television series Andor?
I don't. Yes, in my honorable mentions. 3 things in my honorable mentions, actually. Not in my top 10. I'm really, really happy this is here.
I love that we're showing up for each other on these lists.
This is great.
Carlos, will you please play my clip? All right, this is the Gore National Anthem from season 2, episode 8 of Andor. It came out this year, 2025. That episode titled "Who Are You?" What we just showed was right before this character we've spent a little tiny bit of time with, but don't really have a strong emotional connection to. Inside of this crowd of people chanting, "We're the Gore, the whole world is watching," takes his hat off and then starts singing the Gorman National Anthem. This is written by Tony Gilroy and Nicholas Britell in the fictional language that they created for the show, obviously heavily based on the French language, the French Resistance. And then we see a number of other characters that we know a bit better sort of start to rally around him. And then the entire crowd is singing this national anthem as forces that they have no possibility of surviving are amassing, just behind the barricades on their way to absolutely decimate them. And so we see that too during the sequence. We see a number of our characters we've spent a lot of time with are also, circuiting this massive historical event that's about to happen. This horrific, violent moment. And inside of this moment, inside of this resistance from these people is this song, this national anthem that there are several other great options. Mon Mothma dancing at the wedding, obviously. Marva's funeral, the Ferrix marching band.
Yeah. Those are the 3.
Incredible stuff from Andor. But something that Tony Gilroy talked about a lot in creating Andor that we just relished was the sort of specific details that make up a culture. How do you define a place and a people? And we talked about this so much. We talked about Ferrex, and we talked about, the bells, Stone and Sky, the gloves on the wall, that band of sort of like the various unions sort of coming together and marching towards Marva's funeral. That's a specific place. And so in creating the gore and in creating this planet and, the specificity of the cloth and specificity of the language and the specificity of the architecture. And then inside of like what makes a society, what makes a people, right. A national anthem, a celebration of their planet that is about to be destroyed, physically destroyed. The people are about to die. The planet is about to be fracked by the Empire. And here is this like last sort of, funereal monument, ode to the home that they love. And it is devastating and it is beautiful. And you can't do it without the chant is good. The song is better. Yes. And the song, it quiets them. They were chanting together, but then they become like a choir together. And it just, we were stunned watching this, you and I know that we were. So,
I'm thrilled and frankly really relieved that this is here. This was one of the really, really hard ones to leave off my list. Just an absolutely beautiful and gut-wrenching moment. I love hearing you talk about it. We talk a lot, I'm covering Andor and in general with Star Wars, but certainly most of all with Andor, about how one of the many ways that we see and understand the horrors and atrocities that the Empire inflicts is that they don't care at all about any of the things that make a place or culture, a people or a culture, a culture.
Aldani, yeah.
But then that hideous truth that when they do, it's only so they can use it or steal it or right, or warp it. So what is inside the core of this planet? We need it for our weapons. The only truth that they care to understand, the only aspect of recognition is so that they can take, right? And so for the counter force of that to be this union of song and an embrace at the end, like you said, at the recognition that it's the end, right? And it's still worth it. It's important. It's necessary to say this is who we are and this is what you're destroying is such an incredibly, incredibly powerful and impactful thing to watch. And like, obviously this was one of the great gifts of Andor in general, given, we've said many times we'd love more Andor. It was perfect, but are we greedy? Do we want more? Sure. Are we glad we got a perfect thing? Yes. We don't have a ton of time with the characters, period, and certainly not with the characters we met on Gorman. And the fact that we care this deeply, that if we were with them for a second, we would have cared this deeply, because that is the point, that you shouldn't need to know somebody for your entire life or 9 movies or 5 seasons of television to recognize what they have been, what has been taken from them. Yeah. It's just so brilliantly conceived and portrayed there. So just a fantastic pick. Thrilled it's here.
Yeah.
You're killing it.
You're killing it. Thank you for Kevin Garvey.
My next pick is something that we talked about actually incredibly recently, mere weeks ago. Do you have anything from the television program Stranger Things?
I don't actually.
Okay.
And the reason I don't is because A, I was pretty sure you'd have it, and B, we days ago just talked about it so much. You know what I mean? So
yes.
But it should be here. So I'm really glad you have it.
I had 3 really strong contenders for my Stranger Things pick.
Yeah.
We can talk about the 2 that I did not select as well, because it's really hard to pick between the 3 of them. You probably know which one I picked. I said when we talked about it in real time that it was like one of my favorite Stranger Things musical moments. But Carlos, can we see the clip?
You can make it up to me now.
What?
I want to hear it.
Not right now.
Yes, now, Dusty Bun.
Susie Pooh, this is urgent.
Yes, you're saving the world. I heard you the first time, but Ged is also saving Earthsea, and he's about to confront the shadows, so this is Susie signing off.
Wait. Okay.
My Queen
Great
Susie
pick.
and my favorite character, Dustin. How could I not? We
Great
will,
pick.
in our little smuggles here, talk about Eddie and about Max and running up that hill.
The Clash.
Yeah.
you
I mean,
know.
there are just so many Stranger Things contenders. This is Dustin and Susie singing Neverending Story to save the world in the season 3 finale, The Battle of Starcourt from 2019. We just talked about this for a really long time. If you haven't been listening to our Stranger Things rewatch pods, you can hear more about this in the season 3 revisited pod. I will keep this quick. Just first of all, an incredible deployment of 80s nostalgia. We both fucking love the Neverending Story. So when this happened, I was just like,
On the moon.
I can't believe this is like real life. This is just frankly a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
The filmmaking choice here, this is something we've chatted about recently. I always love hearing you talk about this when a show or a film or a story has the confidence to take a beat for a minute when extremely intense pressing things are happening.
Yeah.
This is an example of that. The fate of Starcourt, of Hawkins, of the Right Side Up, all on the line, but we will fucking break for a full musical number. And not only will we do that, we're going split screen. We are going full on with the theatricality. I love the way in this sequence, Dustin's mortification that he realizes, because everybody's listening. And he's like, I am going to have to sing and everyone can hear me on the walkies. Erica's right here and then everyone else can hear me. Just evaporates instantly as the love of this thing takes hold and he gets to share a duet with his very real girlfriend,
Very
as
real.
everybody gets to find out here. Reach the stars. It's just so good.
It's really good.
The other characters' reactions, as we talked about in our season 3 pod, absolutely priceless. All of them are priceless. Erica's like almost jump scare and then Joyce pressing herself against the wall because they're so on the clock. Definitely the two best, but they're all great. One of the things we've been doing a lot in our Stranger Things pods, we're talking a lot about coming of age stories. We're talking a lot about comfort and safe space for young people who are nerds, right? Who are uncool. And like, this is just such a celebration of being a nerd and having other people in your life who like love the same thing that you love and you get to share them with, and how transporting that really is when you're at any point in your life, ultimately. Susie has to recite Planck's constant after singing Neverending Story. You get to do it with the boyfriend or girlfriend, in this case, for each of them, that you met at science camp where you built a Cerebro so that you could communicate with each other across state lines. This is just the peak nerd shit, honestly. And then Dustin's like little chuckle at the end after they finish singing is just so good. It's like, yeah, we got to save the world, but I can wait a minute because we have to sing and share the things that we love with each other. And that actually ultimately is how they are able to win and save the world, is because they share the things that they love with each other. So it's just great. It was hard to not pick Running Up That Hill, and it was honestly really hard to not pick Eddie Guitar God.
Master of Puppets, yeah.
But I just have I really have like a deep attachment to the Neverending Story moment. I just absolutely love it. So it had to be my pick.
I think it's a great pick. I'm really glad it's represented here, and I'm really glad Stranger Things is represented here. It should be, because of the specific way in which they've used music every season to sort of connect characters. And, I thought about Running Up the Hill. I thought about this. I thought about Master of Puppets. I thought about The Clash as like sort of Will's totem to sort of keep him safe in the Upside Down.
Yeah.
But this is such a good example of, and I have an example of this later, but like when TV creators know that they have a really good singer in their cast, and finding some organic reason to let that person sing. And sometimes it's not organic at all, and they really bend and shape the plot in order to make it happen. But Gaten Matarazzo has like a beautiful voice. Gabriella Pizzolo, who plays Susie, there are these clips going around right now, or full videos that Netflix is putting out of the cast of Stranger Things watching older seasons of Stranger Things. I sent you a screenshot yesterday.
Yeah.
But Gaten talking about this moment, talking about doing it with Gabriella and how they're both Broadway kids. And so like, you know, and I've talked about this before, the fact that Caleb McLaughlin and Sadie Sink and Gaten Matarazzo are all like musical Broadway kids. And they really captured that energy and brought it to the nerdiness of the Stranger Things kids. But yeah, like finding an excuse to like Gaten sing. And then Caleb and Sadie to like make fun of them but sing it later is really good stuff. Yeah.
It's so good.
And it's not organic, but it works anyway. It's just really
I'm
good.
Like, I accept that Susie is insisting on this because he hasn't called in a week.
Yeah.
Granted, he was trapped in a secret Russian lair between them all.
Under the mall.
But you know what? She's insisting on what feels right in their relationship. And this is their shared truth. Love it. Okay. That was my number 8. What's your number 7?
Do you have anything from the television series Avatar: The Last Airbender?
I do. Higher up.
Great.
Quite
What's
high.
your number 7? Well, deserves to be there. What's your number 7?
Okay, so now we have more overlap than I thought then, because I did think that was, now I think we have
This is the one I was sure, this is one of the ones I was sure you would have.
Now I feel we have 3 picks coming up still that are the same, but maybe not. We'll find out. So number 7 for me. Do you have anything from the? You don't, because you said you limited yourself to one superhero. You don't have anything from the MCU.
I don't.
Okay, Carlos. Let's play. I think this was the fastball down the middle. This is not going to surprise a single person consuming this podcast, but I had to do it. Please play my number 7.
Well, after I put the stones back, I thought maybe I'll try some of that life Tony was telling me to get. How'd that work out for you? It was beautiful.
Great.
Okay. This is Cap and Peggy finally sharing their dancing to It's Been a Long, Long Time at the end of a little movie you might have heard of, Avengers Endgame 2019. I had a lot of Marvel contenders. There were so many contenders.
Maybe that's why I pivoted to Fox, because I was like, I was just couldn't pick a Marvel moment, and I was like, I'll do this instead. But anyway, sorry.
There are a lot of, we'll do some smuggles and honorable mentions here. There was one other Marvel pick that was actually made me want to die to leave it off, and it's one we'll hit in a minute, but I've probably talked about more than any other musical moment over the years. I'm like, I kind of can't believe this isn't on my list. But in addition to how much I love this and how important it is for characters we cherish, Peggy, but one of our most important characters in the last decade and a half of our lives is Chris Evans is Steve Rogers. There's all of that, but it's more than that. This is with respect to the actual final film of the Infinity Saga, Spider-Man Far From Home, which is the coda to the Infinity Saga. This is the end.
Yeah.
This moment. This concludes a decade-long shared experience.
Yeah.
That was this central uniting force in so many of our lives. And I just couldn't leave it off the list. It just carries so much weight, I think, for that reason and what it represents for these characters, for the Cap franchise, which is, one we adore inside of the MCU, and for the MCU overall. We've done this on other pods, our Steve Rogers Hall of Fame, et cetera. I'm not going to go through every single beat that paves the way to this moment, but just a couple. I mean, we obviously have the first Avenger, set up. You must have danced. Figured I'd wait for what? The right partner. Steve's sacrifice at the end. I still don't know how to dance. I'll show you, just be there. Winter Soldier, the song they will eventually dance to, playing on the record player. That moment that I just adore so much between Sam and Steve. What makes you happy? I don't know. That is the truth that Steve Rogers inhabits for so long after he comes out of the ice. I don't know. In Ultron, what is the torment that Wanda inflicts on Steve? The idea of the dance with Peggy. Are you ready for our dance? And so all of this is enriched by, of course, the Tony and Cap parallel path, and then this inversion at the end of the way that their conflict and their headbutting ended up being a gift they gave to each other, that Tony is making the sacrifice play and that Cap is
making the selfish choice.
Yeah, no, I don't think I will. This is for me. I am going to do this. I get to keep I've given so much and I get to keep something for myself is like just incredible. And it's like, I love this idea of like music as a promise and a time capsule, and the way that this connects the films and our experience with the characters across all these years. And like also music as a companion. Like when you hear those keys, it just takes you into this space with these people. So yeah, I love a lot of the Marvel moments. Like as you know, I love American Pie with in Black Widow.
I thought about that one just simply because of it's such a part of our shared like origin story of podcasting. Talking about that.
Yeah, like it was painful to leave that one off. The one that I was like, I simply cannot believe this is not on my list is Father and Son from Guardians 2. Like Peter and Baby Groot listening to Father and Son. I actually have another Spotify Wrapped example coming up, but like you can just pretty much always tell what movies or films I've been watching or rewatching based on my Spotify Wrap. That is a thing that we share. And like, it's like, oh, is Devil Town on here? Like I was just revisiting Friday Night Lights, etc. Right? But Father and Son, like when I was doing binge Marvel, Father and Son just had to run atop my consumption for a really long time. I love that moment.
That's a really, like Father and Son.
I love that song.
It has a similar composition to Holly Holy in that it like sort of, it builds. And then you just want to listen to it again to experience that build and how it gets bigger and bigger in its sound.
Yeah. And like the composition of that song, like the way that he is inhabiting the father and the son roles and singing both parts differently. So the music itself is asking you to think about the passage of time and about perspective. And then you have like Peter and Yondu and, it wasn't your daddy. Like it's just great. And I fucking love it. But it had to be Steve and Peggy dancing for me.
Should we hit some? Do you have anything else from Marvel on your list?
Those were like the main ones that I was like, those were my kind of top three, but obviously there are a million. So yeah, you want to throw, because the Bad Baby sent a lot of Marvel.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
some more out.
Yeah, let's just do our Marvel stuff here.
Do it.
Alex suggested the musical notes fight from Doctor Strange.
Great one.
Sarah and Eric wanted to shout out Agatha All Along from WandaVision and Ballad of the Witches Road from Agatha All Along.
Oh yeah.
Guardians, you already mentioned, but Come and Get Your Love, Mr. Blue Sky. I almost put Mr. Blue Sky in there because I love that sequence and the way it's shot. And The Dog Days Are Over from Guardians 3, the sort of all the characters dancing together. At Wolovan suggested the Megan Thee Stallion twerking from She-Hulk.
Great one.
This is the one that I almost put on, and it also prompted me to watch 3 episodes of a television show, Legion.
Yeah, great.
I actually almost put on the suggestion we got from a lot of people was the use of bolero in this sort of dream sequence. I'm not sure that's diegetic. Actually, that's okay. It's really good. Dan Stevens singing Rainbow Connection while playing the banjo. Dan Stevens is a great singer, but that's another case where it's like he's stuck in this liminal space. He's trying to signal something to Sydney, and he's distraught, but sort of like locked into pretending that he's not. And Dan Stevens learned how to play the banjo in a week to do it, and it just like sings Rainbow Connection. And I really almost put it on my list. It's really, really good.
It's a really good one.
And there's like dance battles and rap battles inside of Legion. It's just like really great stuff. Sunflower from Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
I thought that was a really, really good
That's
suggestion from one of our listeners.
As well.
Yeah. At Be Cool Bear suggested Sam playing Trouble Man by Marvin Gaye for Steve at the end of Winter Soldier.
Great one.
At Scruffy suggested the Star Spangled Man with a Plan from First Avengers.
Yeah.
Various Iron Man, needle drops. Like Jarvis drop my needle. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's part of it.
Rogers the Musical.
No one really went to bat for Rogers the Musical. X-Men 97, Rogue and Magneto dancing to Ace of Base, a moment that you and I like.
I can barely like talk about that when we potted about it. That was fucking electric. That was incredible.
With Gambit watching them. Okay,
I'm gonna call that one an official smuggle of mine. That I want to claim that as an honorable mention.
I like that
for us personally. That's a great one. Oh God.
All right.
Whew.
Do you have any other superhero things on the list at all? Anything from?
No, I don't.
Okay. I just wanted to shout out one other thing. At Hallcat Tweets, nominated from The Batman.
Yes.
Maybe not best, but it's notable in The Batman when it seems like something in the way was a needle drop, only for it then to be turned off by Bruce, who has presumably been listening to it on repeat for hours. I thought was really fun.
Great one. Fantastic. Okay, Joanna, what is your number 6?
Do you have anything from the television series Station 11?
I'm so happy that you have this.
But I'm not sure. I mean, there are a couple good options.
There are a couple good options.
I did not go with the one that everyone wanted me to go with. This is the one that I picked. Carlos, will you play this clip?
Breathe his faults so quaintly that they may seem the taints of liberty, the flash and outbreak of a fiery mind, a savageness in unreclaimed blood of general assault.
We lost someone today. She loved this song. LA.
That's as much music as I got into any clip. Thank you, Carlos, for including it. I was like, can we get away with a melee? So this is from the series finale. This is Midnight Train to Georgia. I will talk about why it's here. Obviously, the one that people really wanted to have in here was from episode 7, Excursions, where Frank raps A Tribe Called Quest, and it's incredible.
It's great.
There's also Kirsten singing the first Noel, which I thought about. But okay, so Station 11, Midnight Train to Georgia, from the finale Unbroken Circle. The clip you just heard is a lead up to Deborah Cox singing Midnight Train to Georgia as a sort of memorial for Lori Petty's character, Sarah, who has just passed away. And it is the backdrop to Jeevan and Kirsten are two main characters of this show who have been separated since Kirsten was a child. Spoilers for Station 11. Separated since Kirsten was a child, and they rediscover each other and they share a wordless hug. And it is one of the most emotionally rewarding moments. Patrick Somerville, who is the showrunner for Station 11, worked on The Leftovers, worked under Damon Lindelof. This is a very Lindelofian moment. Midnight Train to Georgia, I was arguing with a friend of mine about putting this on here because she's like, how essential is that song to this moment? And I was like, actually it is, because what happens plot-wise is what you heard was a character reciting some of Polonius's speech from Hamlet. And the notion of performance and art as this shared experience, this essential experience of humanity, survival is insufficient. The quote that Mallory and I love to cite all the time. Performance is so important. There is a moment earlier in this episode where there's a near miss between Jeevan and Kirsten inside of this show. And you're like, oh my God, are they not going to see each other here at the end of all things? And this is based on a great book, but many liberties were taken. And so we don't know, because this is their relationship is very different in the show than it is in the book. They don't have a relationship. So Kirsten has just been talking to one of the child soldiers who snatches the copy of the comic from her and runs away. And Kirsten starts chasing her, and then she stops. And she's like, no, I will not choose violence. I will stop. I will sort of smile and think about, okay, this is not the path I'm going to take. This book is now going to mean something to someone else. I am passing that along. What she doesn't say is she turns back and she gravitates towards listening to the music. And because she makes that choice, and because she gravitates towards listening to the music, she sees Jeevan, who instead of going home has stayed to listen to the music, because they're both listening to the great Deborah Cox saying Midnight Train to Georgia. They see each other. So because they both chose to sort of marinate in this artistic space, they found each other. And something that Somerville said in an interview with Variety about it was just sort of Jeevan is sort of revealed to the audience, in a way that before Kirsten realizes he's there. But Somerville says it's a great shot because in terms of sleight of hand, there's no better look at my hand over here than Deborah Cox singing Midnight Train to Georgia, right? And this is Dan Romer, who is the music supervisor on this show and composer of the score, stuff like that, has done a lot. There's a lot of great live music from the show that happens.
Yes.
But this idea, this full circle moment of Kirsten and Jeevan meeting because of the theater, because Jeevan went to the theater and Kirsten was in the show, and that's how they met. And he walked her home, and meeting again because of this artistic theatrical moment is really important to me. The leaving on a midnight train to Georgia and this idea of like leaving Jeevan together in this moment. But there's this recap that I read that Amanda Whitting wrote at the time for Vulture about this moment where she says, "It occurred to me the lyrics are littered with concepts that a post-pan," meaning someone in the show who was born after the pandemic, couldn't understand. Trains, state lines, Los Angeles. But the themes, love and aspiration and homecoming, are beginning to make sense again. And then she sort of enumerates how that hits like the various different characters. And then she goes on to say, "Perhaps this is another high watermark in the remaking of civilization. People have survived long enough to shed versions of themselves, just like in Wendy's songs. Bought a one-way ticket back to the life that he once knew. The past isn't so squarely in the past. It is simply before and after." I just think it's
gorgeous.
Beautiful stuff.
Gorgeous.
This show absolutely
wonderful,
captivated and wrecked the both of us. And this moment is just like, I can watch this moment in isolation a million times and it will make me cry. The performance that we get inside of this wordless moment from these two people, the ferocity of the hug is just very important to me. So that is my pick from Station 11.
Woo. That is a beautiful one. I felt very sure you would have something from Station 11. I'm glad it's that.
The excursion sequence is wonderful.
Great. Yeah.
Wonderful.
No, this is an incredible.
But it goes back to that, and that has a lot of emotionality too in terms of what the character Frank is going through and stuff like that. But it goes back to like sort of what you were saying. If you're choosing between the two, I'm picking the one that makes me sob every time. So yeah.
Just an incredible pick. I really wanted to put Station 11 on. I gave myself permission not to because I felt so sure you would. I wonder if that will be true in reverse. For my number 6, let's stick with HBO dramas from recent years. Do you have anything from The Last of Us?
I do not.
Perfect. We're in lockstep at number 6 here then. Carlos?
No, sir. No, thank you. Sorry. Not this song. Not this song.
Well, I'm not a professional.
Well, neither am I, but...
Okay.
Listening. To be clear, Mallory and I did barely any colluding on this list, but this is one where I was like, "Are you hitting The Last of Us?" And she said yes, so I left it off my list.
Yes, and I did not tell you which moment.
Right.
There are a few contenders, and we'll do some smuggles as well after we talk about this moment. This is, of course, from 2023's season 1, episode 3, the instantly indelible and iconic Long, Long Time. And I am selecting Bill playing and singing Linda Ronstadt's Long, Long Time for Frank. As we talked about a lot when we covered this together when the season was airing, and even like before then when we were just like on a group chat with like us and Chris.
Yeah.
This song has been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. This was just a song that my mom played all the time when my sister and I were kids. Like she would just play it all the time around the house, in the car. She would sing it to us. Yeah. And so it is a song that I just have like a really deep attachment to and a love for. And so I think I would have had a reaction to it kind of no matter what. But then you put it inside this miracle of adaptation where season 1 of The Last of Us is an incredible season of television, and there are a lot of episodes in it and sequences and things that we love. But episode 3 is like a radical act of adaptation.
Yeah.
And it's something that we have found really intellectually and like creatively rewarding to consume and parse and think about. And we have carried it with us. This moment, a lot of the things that Bill and Frank say to each other and what they mean to each other and what it means to be able to forge a relationship like that in a context like that or at all, paying attention to things is how we show love. That's something that we both quote very routinely on our pods and just in our lives. So Bill and Frank. One of the things that I loved the first time I saw this episode, and again, this is not how it goes with these characters in the game at all. This is so different. One of the things that I loved the first time that I saw this episode and just like have never stopped loving, and I think will only love and appreciate more over time, is just like what it captures about people's capacity to surprise each other, which is just like a really important aspect of forging a connection and finding a way to like take a step that maybe you didn't know that you could take. And this is such a beautiful moment and musical moment and just story about connection and about like new love and new hope in the dark, like just a raft, like a life raft in the abyss. And this is also about somebody seeing you clearly for the first time in your life. And also like you, Bill, in this situation, allowing yourself to be seen for the first time. And, that like, who are you singing about? Which girl are you singing about? It's there's no girl, right?
Yeah.
And that kiss that they share and how nervous Bill is because this is not an experience that he had. And so this horrible thing has happened in the world and it is awful. And a lot of the show and the game, it exists in that space of how awful it is and the terrible things that people do to each other. But this is a moment about how good things can sometimes spring up amid the horror. And it's just beautiful. And so the look on Frank's face when Bill starts playing the piano and singing, because I've done everything I know to try to make you mine. Like we're having that experience at home watching it and it would be perfect already. But then we go to the end of the episode and Bill and Frank are gone and we have watched in mere moments them live a life together that they would not have gotten to live together otherwise. And to fall in love. And Ellie and Joel arrive. And when they pull away in the truck and Ellie finds the tape and they put it in and the way that we shift from like, all right, no, stop yet to like, oh yeah, from Joel. It hits me so hard every time because like for him, it is this capsule to the before.
Yeah.
And the way that the sunshine plays on their faces and Ellie, like she's making fun of him, but she can't help but smile when she looks at how happy this music has made him. And then they'll like, fuck. And on a rewatch, this is just, I mean, if you had played the game and you knew it was coming, but now for everyone on a rewatch, like the harbinger of the lyrics that pair with them driving away and then into the credits, wait for the day you'll go away knowing that you warned me of the price I'd have to pay is just like, really incredible.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to pick Joel playing and singing Future Days to Ellie in season 2, episode 6, which I think is a gorgeous scene.
Absolutely.
I really wanted to pick Ellie playing and singing Take on Me to Dina from season 2, episode 4, which we both adored. It was difficult not to pick those two. I felt like we could talk about them and celebrate them here as well on the Smuggles. But the Bill and Frank moment,
it's exquisite.
It's exquisite. It is.
And I did think you might pick
Future Days.
Yeah. But I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad you picked this. Even though that's an astounding thing. But like that's another example. Pedro's singing that song is another example of sort of what we were talking about with Justin Theroux in terms of like it's performance, not quality of voice. And so Nick Offerman has a much stronger voice, but it's still like sort of an imperfect performance, but
he's like
so
quaking,
nakedly emotional.
The vulnerability of it.
And that idea that these are two men who are meeting each other in their middle age. And so they don't have a lot of time together, but they do have time together and what it means to share a life with someone and a life shared and like strawberries consumed together and music shared together and paintings done together and meals shared together, you know, like the sort of like the appetites of life, the joys, the delights of life that like feel so absent elsewhere inside of this mushroom zombie infested world. Like what are the survival is insufficient? What are these sort of like joys of civilization of being a human that we can find and share with each other? And like for some characters it's like a dumb joke book, and and for some characters it's this, and it's just one of the most incredible episodes of television we've been given in the last 25 years, and I'm so glad that you're honoring it at this moment.
It's the best. You can now watch House of R on Spotify and The Ringer's first ever television channel, available exclusively on Samsung TV Plus, the subscription-free streaming destination bringing you the best of TV.
Rewatch some of our best deep dives and debates on the new all-day Ringer channel. You can also settle in and catch up on your other Ringer favorites, including The Ringerverse, The Rewatchables, or The Big Picture.
To watch, open the Samsung TV Plus app on your Samsung TV or Galaxy mobile device, navigate to the Ringer channel, and boom, you're in. We've reached the top 5. So many incredible picks already that I'm like, what does the top 5 have in store? Oh my God. Right. What is your number 5, Joe?
Number 5, I know you don't have this because this is another way in which we colluded. This is from 2022, The Rings of Power. Carlos, will you play this clip?
Come on now, Rove's not gonna migrate to us. Might help us move faster if we sang us your mom's walking song.
Yeah, go on, Pops. Give us a warbler.
The best. The absolute best.
Okay, so you and I behind the scenes did a little like Tolkien negotiation, right?
You were astonished I didn't pick this.
I was.
Yeah. This is like my number 1 runner-up of all of my
But I was just like, I really, for us, for House of R.
Had to be her.
I wanted Wandering Day on the list.
Yeah.
Tolkien elsewhere will be celebrated, and we'll get to that. But this is where we are celebrating The Rings of Power. And Megan Richards singing Wandering Day, which is, was, I think, the top of your Spotify Wrapped that year. Was come on, Pop, give us a warble, like just a potent experience for you and I covering the show together. You've talked so eloquently about what the lyrics of this song mean to you. Leave all I've known for the unknown ahead, like all, and in terms of that idea that you were just talking about with The Last of Us and this idea of radical adaptation, JD and Patrick have taken a lot of shit for The Rings of Power, and we could talk about the ways in which The Rings of Power has not been perfect in our view, but there are moments where you're like, nobody understands.
Yeah.
And can do Tolkien the way that these two guys are doing it. And this is one of those examples where it's like Tolkien's use of music as a way in which to expand or cement the lore of his world. It's often historical or geographical or whatever it is. And so this is a map. It's a map song. It's a traveling song. It's part of their culture. It is going to lighten their load as they travel. Megan has a beautiful voice. And so like and it's not auto-tuned. And so the way that she like sings, if it is, barely detectable. The way that she sings this is so uplifting. And it's just like, I just felt so served in terms of like, here's some people who get what matters most about Tolkien, and that idea of like levitating. Oh my God, we're getting music inside of this. We had a couple of Bad Babies write in about the Tom Bombadil song in season 2, which I also sort of like levitated over and loved.
Great one.
But this is just like, this is. The Rings of Power is one of those shows that has been so enhanced by my time covering it with you and by hearing from the Bad Babies and what it has inspired in me in terms of digging deeper in my Tolkien scholarship and all this sort of stuff like that. So like, is it more important to me than the Lord of the Rings movies or the books? No, but is it more important to like my experience through the lens of House of R in the last 25 years? Like, yeah, kinda. Until you and I cover the movies together, like this is something that has been so important to us. So I just love this
It
song.
had to be here.
I love sharing the song with you. Adventures in songs must be shared. So here we are.
And apple tattoos, you know?
And apple tattoos.
It all traces back to this. Yeah, I'm thrilled that you have this. I was worried I had a little too much recency bias on my list, and that on the coin flip, because all of the Lord of the Rings contenders had that. This makes me feel a depth of something that is like indescribable almost. So they all had that. I went with the trilogy. We'll talk about that shortly, actually. But Wandering Day is for every reason you said, and all of it's been like a thrill and a privilege to talk about it with you now over the years. You know, we talked about it when we covered it. We talked about it on our favorite moments of the year pod at the end of the year. Like we keep finding reasons and ways to think about how it makes us feel. You know, we had the just unbelievable like pleasure of doing a Music of Middle Earth episode together.
I know.
You got to go see the Lord of the Rings musical. I mean, that's not eligible for this. I think we both probably would have picked Now and for Always. We
would have ranked it very high, in fact.
Yeah,
if we had
no
picked,
question.
If we had picked that. Something I wanted to say about that is when I found out you were not doing this and you were doing something for the movies, so then I knocked my movie pick off the list. It did hurt my early in the 25 years sort of proportion a bit, but that's okay. I still have some others, but I was trying to get like in making the list. I was, recency bias, something you were concerned about, but also just like the spread, like not neglecting the middle also, and you know, really trying to be representative of the
can't have a
years.
Survivor season 50 cast situation, you know.
Great point.
Nothing from the middle.
I get that.
I didn't ultimately care that much about the spread of the years, but it was on my mind a little bit. Just absolutely elated that Wandering Day is here. It frankly would have, I think, invalidated the podcast if it had not been. Maybe the only thing I actually feel that way about, other than one other thing that I think we will both have very high. Correct. My number 5, I do not believe you have. It is eligible. I will explain why. It is the one that I think is most likely for people to say, is that eligible? But it is, and I will explain why. You don't have anything from Black Mirror, correct?
I don't, but I was expecting you would have this.
Yeah, I mean, this was a lock. I talk about this a lot. Carlos?
I guess I'm ready. For what? For the rest of it.
Okay. Mackenzie Davis back. a lot of Dan Lindelof today, a lot of Mackenzie Davis today.
When I figured out that you would probably have this on your list, I was like, double Mackenzie Davis?
What a
we
treat.
are living.
What a treat. This is, of course, from Black Mirror. This is the end of San Junipero Season 3, Episode 4. Not only my favorite Black Mirror episode, but one of my 2, 3, certainly 5 favorite episodes of television ever.
Yeah.
I absolutely love San Junipero, and this is Heaven is a Place on Earth, Belinda Carlisle kicking in at the end of the episode, and then cut in with the credits and these little glimpses of where our characters wound up. If you're watching the clip, you saw it. If you're listening, hopefully you heard it. When Yorkie gets into the Miata, Yorkie pushes a cassette into the cassette player, and then the song starts. So Yorkie is listening to this.
I'll give it to you. I did rewatch this to
It's my
check
contention.
because one of our listeners put it in, and I was like, I'll give it. I'll happily give it to you.
The song could just start, but they go out of their way to show us Yorkie pushing a cassette into the cassette player, and so diegetic. There we are. This is like one of my 2 or 3 favorite deployments of an actual like pop song in TV or film ever. I think it is iconic, genuinely. This is another example to me of like, it could not possibly be more on the nose in terms of like the lyrics and everything, but that just heightens it for me. It's just perfection. This episode, San Junipero, already would have been like one of my favorite hours of TV ever, but the way that it ends like really cements it, and the use of the song really cements it and its status for me. This is a story about a lot of different things. It's a story about identity. It's a story about acceptance and belonging. It's a story about people who embrace who you are and celebrate who you are. And it is a story about choosing each other, right? And choosing anything, including potentially a forever, with somebody who can help you live the kind of life that you deserve to live. And it's really beautiful in a show that is, and I think one thing that sometimes I think people, because it's a very hopeful episode of Black Mirror, which is really rare. And Black Mirror can be really dark and really grim, like exceedingly bleak.
Yeah.
Something that I think everybody can receive every episode of television the way they want. That's cool. I'm not here to talk anybody into anything. But one thing that I think is not a good faith argument is like, Black Mirror, like San Junipero, like it's like, that's too easy. And I think this episode is like deeply rooted in pain and trauma. And like there's a lot of really heavy, intense shit in here. Like Yorkie's family's response to her coming out is what leads to the car crash that paralyzes her. San Junipero gives her a chance to be who she truly is for the first time and to share that with other people. And she meets Kelly there and they fall in love. And Kelly has her own history and her own pain and her own very difficult choices. Like her husband, her daughter died before San Junipero was a possibility, right? And so like the choice that Kelly has to make is, do I choose forever if the people I spent my life with aren't there with me? Like, what would it mean to do that? What would it mean to live a life again?
Yeah.
And is that like a grace that you can grant yourself? And, you know, there are so many deeply moving and emotional moments in this episode, and so much is packed in here. Like Kelly in the real like world, in the actual timeline of where they are in their current lives, marrying Yorkie so that Yorkie can like be uploaded to the cloud, can become a little blinking Tucker probe, because her family wouldn't do it, wouldn't give her that.
Yeah.
Right? Which is so horrible. And when we hear what Kelly says, like all things considered, I guess I'm ready for the rest of it. It's like on the one hand, that is so specific to, I'm going to choose to be with this person. I'm going to go find Yorkie. When Yorkie puts in Belinda Carlisle and drives forward, like I will be there by that beach house waiting. But it's also like for the rest of it, it's another version of like, I trade all I've known for the unknown ahead. It could be anything, right? It's like you're giving yourself the chance to be happy.
Yeah.
And to discover something new. And I think that's amazing. And the lyrics are, you know, this is a like all-time song. This is just it's a great one. This is another classic, like always on the Spotify Wrapped, you know. But it's just perfect. They say in heaven, love comes first. We'll make heaven a place on earth. The driving off. It's just the setting. It's beautiful. And like, I love when we see them in the car, Kelly joins Yorkie and they kiss. And that's paired with like, in this world, we're just beginning to understand the miracle of living. It's just gorgeous. Like, it's great. And then we go and the little Tucker lights are blinking and dancing. And it's like, especially now, you know, in real life where we are and the insidious creep of technological advancements. And obviously that's a huge part of Black Mirror and the text of Black Mirror. Like, what is the digital dystopia going to look like? And what will it do to us? And what will it do to how we think about what it even means to be human and forge a connection with someone? And I don't think this episode diminishes that or seeks to say that that's not true. But I think that it's important to say that there can be a glimmer of something brighter amid all of that. And I just really like adore this episode. I get chills every time that cassette tape goes into the deck and the song kicks in. I just like love it. It's so good. So this was the first thing I wrote down. This was always going to be on my list.
I love that. I love the things we share, and then I love the things that are like distinctly you know what I mean? And I just associate this episode forever with you. And I think it's no coincidence that you have, I don't think it was intentionally done, but I think it's no coincidence that you have these back-to-back queer expressions of love, because again, inside of like let music do what words cannot. Like, for these characters who exist in a space where they are afraid of being their authentic selves. And so the vulnerability of opening yourself up to connection to someone is like so scary. It's always scary, but like the stakes are higher inside of these scenarios. So it's so scary. And so like, let the music express this for me to a certain degree. That's not exactly what's happening in Black Mirror, but like, I think that's one of the beautiful things that music can do, which feeds into actually my next pick, but
tell me.
Number 4?
Number 4.
I know you don't have this.
Is
you
this
haven't
Buffy?
seen it yet.
All right. Did you not allow yourself to put this at number 1 because of me? No.
Well, I don't think I would have put it number 1, but I might have put it number 2. But I can't talk about it in full, and it doesn't bother me that that it's here. It's fine. Carlos, will you please play my clip?
Last night, did anybody burst into song?
Merciful Zeus.
We thought it was just us.
Oh, sorry.
It was bizarre. We were talking, and then it was like...
Like you were in a musical.
We did a whole duet about dinner last
night. I couldn't see, and the synchronized dancing from the room
And
service
we were arguing, and then everything rhymed, and there were harmonies, and a dance with coconuts.
About the couscous?
It was very disturbing. What did you sing about?
I don't remember. But it seemed perfectly normal.
But disturbing. And not the natural order of things. And do you think it'll happen again?
Let me tell you something, Giles. Still looks great.
Spoiler alert, it will happen again, Xander. Season 6, episode 7, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Once More with Feeling. I'm cheating and just doing the entire musical episode. Sure. I cannot go into detail because even inside of that clip, which was like one of the least spoilery things I could put, there are 2 characters that Mallory hasn't even met yet.
I'm like, who are those people?
Yeah, who are those people? So this is why I cannot talk very specifically about what happens in this episode, but I can talk generally. First about, the audacity of this episode, the influence of this episode. So 2002, Buffy Vampire Slayer puts out a musical episode. Musical episodes weren't a thing. They became a thing after this. People just chased this, and there's just like a number of great examples, but like Supernatural did a musical episode. The Magicians, which we got a lot of people wanting the Magicians on the list, and there's like they would do things that were inspired by Buffy all the time. The Arrowverse, Star Trek Strange New World doing Subspace Rhapsody, which was like directly trying to do Once More with Feeling. So the premise of Once More with Feeling is a demon has come to town, and as a result, people are uncontrollably bursting into song. So there is like this really fun premise for the episode. Oftentimes, musical episodes, Star Trek didn't do this, but oftentimes musical episodes are treated as sort of like these little anomalies, this little like bubble of a sort of gimmicky episode. That is not what Whedon did with Once More with Feeling. The idea is you burst into song and you basically start confessing things that you've been hiding from other people. And you start, revelations happen, confessions happen that impact every single character in a very monumental way. And so I love that about this, that there is like, love confessions or revelations about things or whatever the case may be. And then the characters will say how uncomfortable they are that they revealed these things to each other. And so again, that's a thing of like music heightening your ability to express something. You can finally tell people something you've been hiding from them because you're doing it in song. There's dance. There's just like a number of things. It's I sent you a clip of Giles singing from like a different episode. Because it was like the most spoiler-free way. But Anthony Stewart Head, Amber Benson, James Marsters all have like incredible voices. So like showcasing their incredible voice. Emma Caulfield is a great voice too. Showcasing their great voices is really fun. Some people are not as good at singing Allison Hannigan, but like we don't need to give her a song and we'll sort of like joke about the fact that she's not that great at singing. This is the one case where I would say there's a little more auto-tune than I would like to aid one Miss Sarah Michelle Gellar, but she sounds good enough and it's only slightly, but you can hear it. But do you know who doesn't need it? Anthony Stewart Head, Amber, James Marsters. And I will just say, if I had to pick one moment I would pick Spike singing Rest in Peace, which is one of the greatest moments of my entire life. I can't wait to share it with you. But yeah, I don't want to talk about it that much more in detail because I want to preserve the experience for you. But I think that its influence is undeniable in terms of what people felt free to do in a musical way on shows thereafter. And that is all I have to say about that.
I feel bad for inhibiting you, but one of the things that we've talked about this actually in our season 2 pods, but we had previously discussed it as well. Like, this is an episode I have a degree of, obviously I don't have like the any of the context, and there would have been encoding failures on any specific thing because it wouldn't have. But I do I'm like, oh yeah, this is like one of the biggest and most iconic episodes of Buffy, and its influence is felt in these people cited and X, Y, and Z. So I have a sense of it, just because of like the force that it clearly is, and the impact that it had. But I can't wait to get there. What was Giles eating? Was that an English muffin? Was that a scone? I couldn't quite tell.
I don't know.
I can't wait to see that on a bigger screen in HD. I'm thrilled.
I will say you don't have anything from the Magicians on your list, do you?
No, just honorable mentions. But I know we got a lot.
We got a lot of nominations for this.
Under Pressure, most of all, or
Under Pressure, most of all. But I almost picked Take on Me, which it happens towards the end. We have lost a character. It is so emotional.
Very intense.
The Magicians. But The Magicians is a show that like wears its Buffy love on its sleeve, and like so many of the choices they made were just sort of like because Buffy did it.
I'll probably have to rewatch it after finishing Buffy. Like through
there are
new
like
eyes.
Direct Buffy references inside of it. So
because of course, so much of my experience with The Magicians the first time around is like, oh, what if Hogwarts weren't fun? And, what if magic were really hard and also for older kids? It's like, or like, obviously Narnia. But to have that other lens to see it through will be fascinating. So, all right. My number 4, this is where I have my Lord of the Rings pick. And it is a Pippin pick, but perhaps not the Pippin pick that everybody is waiting for. So we will, of course, talk about that as well as one of our shared smuggles and honorable mentions. But Carlos, I think the real heads, the real bad babies aren't going to be surprised by my pick here. I've talked about this a lot over our Lord of the Rings pods. Carlos, can we see this clip?
Pippin!
So I guess that's the most we can do.
That's all you can get away with.
I guess. Okay, well, let me set the scene. So this is from, of course, 2003, The Return of the King. Extended edition. That doesn't matter. It's in every version. I did have to specify when I sent Carlos the time code. Extended edition, obviously. We're in Return of the King. Okay, we're in the 3rd film of the trilogy. So we have survived Helm's Deep. This is after Helm's Deep. This is after Isengard. We are back at Edoras.
After they've eaten that chicken that was in the like body logged water. Yeah.
Everyone is imbibing, consuming in many forms. Everyone's getting sloshed. Legolas and Gimli are playing their drinking game. I think it's starting to affect me. Everybody is celebrating, right? That's what this is. This is a moment of celebration. Celebrating surviving the battle, beating the odds, making it through, fending off the dark for just another day. And that's like very palpable throughout this whole sequence. They are together, right? They are sharing a moment of good cheer. And I love this for so many reasons. The Green Dragon song that Pippin and Merry sing. But a specific moment inside of it is what really elevates it to just Pantheon status for me. We see, inside of this party, we see our beloved Pip and Merry dancing. They're on a table. They're dancing and they're singing and they're kicking their hairy hobbit feet and they're swinging their pints, and everyone is assembled, right? Everyone has gathered and everyone is watching them and everybody is smiling and everybody is laughing. And I don't know why, like, I honestly don't quite know why always I have such a fondness and like affection for this particular moment, which is like very brief and like not quite as palpably like emotional intense as Edge of Night, which will be our shared smuggle, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I think like just that setting and that gathering, it feels to me like it's one of the most beautiful and organic encapsulations and presentations of the idea of fellowship that the entire series has to offer. Like the hobbits, what are they doing here? They're connecting to and sharing their culture, right? With the people of Rohan. Like that's what they're doing. You drink your fancy ales, you can drink them by the flagon, but the only brew for the brave and true comes from the Green Dragon. Like the idea of the hobbits as the brave and true is just so perfect. And the way that everybody who is watching soaks this up and embraces it and loves it. And like they're getting to glimpse something. Like for us, this feels like as viewers or as readers, right? It's like a return to normalcy. It's a portal for a moment of a simpler time. Like we're thinking of, the rain may fall and the wind may blow when we've seen Merry and Pippin singing and dancing and drinking in Fellowship, like before everything changed, right?
Yeah.
And then Pippin stops singing. And he turns and he locks eyes for just a second with Gandalf, who has been smiling as Pippin has been singing. And their faces both just fall. Like their smiles just melt. And it is so brief and it's so fleeting. But there is just like a lifetime of fear and doubt and shame and like that sense of being unsure or worried. And we're like, full of a took, right? We haven't seen it yet. It's coming in mere minutes in the film, but the Seeing Stone. We will go further into this film into everything that happens at Minas Tirith, which we'll talk about more. Of course, they're all thinking of Frodo, what it means to be so small in the face of something that's so big. We're thinking of Galadriel saying to Pippin, like, do not fear, young Peregrine Took, you will find your courage. And so I just find it to be this, like, it's so quick, but I just find it to be this really, like, incredible blend. It's like so jubilant and hopeful and pure.
Yeah.
Like, how would you spend your time with the other people who made it through this thing with you? And then it is also so haunting just for a second inside of it. And it's really always like gripped me in a way that is significant.
Is your interpretation of that moment that Gandalf can like tell what Pippin is about to do with the Seeing Stone? That was sort of always my
like he's always worried. Always worried
but he's
about
like,
Pippin.
He's like, I see something in you that is going to do this thing.
Pip.
Yeah.
And
really I love what you said about how it connects back to the light, happy hobbits that they were before.
Right.
And then there are ways in which you can't go home again. They will never just do that.
Shire's been saved, but
not for me.
Edge of Night? You want to talk about Edge of Night for a minute? Are people going to be like, how did you guys not have Edge of Night on the list?
Yes, but
can
honestly,
you sing Master Hobbit? Well, yes, at least well enough for my own people, but we have no songs for great halls and evil times.
Yeah, changed forever our relationship with cherry tomatoes.
Forever.
My friend Matt has always said that each of the other of us will sing it at each other's funeral. Whoever dies first, the other one will sing it at their funeral, Edge of Night. But you have to sing it like Billy Boyd sings it, which is way too poppy for Lord of the Rings. He's like, the Edge of Night. And you're like, okay, all right, American Idol. That actually, I don't think I would have picked Edge of Night, though I might have like crumbled to peer pressure and picked it. But
yeah.
For me, really, it's Viggo Mortensen as Aragorn singing the Lay of Beren and Luthien in Fellowship, which is very brief but really beautiful. Or actually,
Misty Mountains.
The Misty Mountains called from The Hobbit.
This is just gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
That I think is actually like aesthetically it's the most beautiful Lord of the Rings music moment.
Yeah, that has to be on here.
Think about that all the time.
Me too. I love that sequence. That's one of the runners up as well. And then look, let's just fucking say it. The rockin' pool is nice and cool, so juicy sweet. Our only wish to catch a fish, so juicy sweet column. In the Forbidden Pool.
Yeah.
It has to be here. Come on.
Has to be here.
Talk about iconic. There are a lot of Lord of the Rings contenders. I mean, like you said, the music is just an essential part of the Middle-earth experience. So no bad pick, really, from Rings. We're at the top 3.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like we might have the same number 3 and number 1. I know we don't have the same 2 because my 2 was your 7, or if I'm remembering correctly. But maybe we don't. Maybe we don't have a thing that I thought for sure we had as a shared item. This is a shock to me, but I don't know. Let's find out. What's your number 3?
Do you have anything from the 2025 film Sinners?
As an honorable mention. Oh, I'm hyped that you have this on your list. Fantastic. Okay, so we don't. Oh, no, wait. Maybe that's your number 2. Okay.
I'll explain. We don't. I don't think we have it, and I'll explain why.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Carlos, will you play this clip, please?
I'm Sammy Moore. I'm a sharecropper from Sunflower Plantation. They call me Preacher Boy, counting my daddy being the pastor. I wrote this song for him.
This is one of the most astonishing cinematic experiences of my lifetime.
Yeah.
And I was a little worried about recency bias. I was like, is it just because you saw Sinners multiple times in the theaters this year?
It's that good.
No, it's just that good. So this is the moment in Sinners. If you've not seen it, what are you doing? But this is the moment in Sinners when Sammy sings I Lied to You, written by Oakland's own Raphael Sadiq and Ludwig Göransson, performed by Miles. I've heard his name pronounced several different ways, but I'm going to go with Catton, which is the way that Ryan Coogler says it. Miles Catton, by the way, beautiful singing voice, not a guitar player. So he he learned this complicated blues song on the guitar 5 hours a day, practiced so much that his fingers seized up at one point. And as he's singing this song, I Lied to You, about his love of the blues and about lying to his father, who would prefer he not love the blues. We're inside the juke joint. Everyone's dancing. And then all of a sudden, there is this, to your point, incursion of different musical genres. African music, funk guitars, DJs, Sishu Chinese performers. We're roaming around the juke joint. Everyone's dancing, and all of a sudden you hear these other instruments come in, and then you see in this surreal sort of celebration of the blues and its connection to the past and its connection to the future. The execution of this was technically, it was written into the script. So like Ryan Coogler's like, and then Sammy's going to sing a song, and then all these figures from the past and from the future are going to come out and be part of the experience. And Ludwig Göransson's like, fuck, how do I deliver on that? And so he called in Raphael Sadiq to help him. And apparently Raphael Sadiq had been working on this song his entire life, I Lied to You. And so it comes in this, it's a banger song. But in terms of just thinking about the logistics of this, they did an IMAX camera. So if you watch this in IMAX, it just opens up into this IMAX moment. Those are massive cameras that they had to move through the closely packed juke joint and carefully choreograph. When does the Jimi Hendrix-esque guitar come in? So when do we see that person inside of this? And so Ludwig Göransson was DJing on the set live in order to get, this is when the drums come in, and this is when the guitar comes in, and this is when the Chinese influence comes in. And something I love, and then this is when the twerking happens and something like that. And something I've loved about this experience is your jaw just drops and then drops further, and you're getting these auditory cues of what's to come, or you see something visually, and then you're worried you miss something, so you get really excited to see Sinners again, so you can watch that whole thing again. And Ryan Coogler has talked so beautifully about the way in which making Fruitvale Station and then Creed and then Black Panther were all about exploring these different parts of his own, Oakland being something he's connected to, Africa being something he feels connected to. And then he talked about his father and Creed and how that's all connected. Then he's like, then there's this like Mississippi Delta blues part of my family. He went on this like scouting trip with Ludwig Göransson and his father to sort of like drill down into like what the blues means. And something that Coogler brings up again and again when he talks about the blues as this like root structure that reaches back and then branches out into the future is this idea of the crossroads that comes up again thematically again and again in blues music. And so this idea of this like permeating a boundary, this like liminal space of reality that happens inside of this musical moment. And then the roof catches on fire and the whole thing burns as this sort of acknowledgement of the undeniable power of art and expression and music and freedom and community that these people who are not welcome in many places have found with each other inside of the juke joint here. And so the supernatural that happens inside of this moment. I mean, this is a movie with vampires in it, but the supernatural of like these ghostly apparitions and then the fire, which is not actually a fire because the juke joint is fine by the end of the song. And then the pièce de résistance is like, this is the siren call that draws Remick to the juke joint. He is irresistibly drawn to the power, Sammy's power, his connection to music. And then music, of course, will be important. Like the other performances inside of the juke joint, Wild Mountain Time, Rocky Road to Dublin, like all the stuff that happens with the vampires outside. Yeah. The moment earlier in the film when Delroy Lindo's character is talking about like his experience with music and you get this auditory incursion while he's talking about it. Sinners is a masterpiece. No matter what, if this weren't in the movie, it would be a masterpiece. But this elevates it to just sort of like, I just can't describe how I felt watching this. And every time I feel that watching this. So frankly, I could have put it higher, but this is where I have I Lied to You from Sinners. So yeah.
Perfect pick.
Also, technologically, so the IMAX camera, but then there's also the Dolby Atmos sound they used. And so talking about sound design, as the camera, as we move through the juke joint, we're hearing the song differently
based on
as if we are
Yeah.
in the room listening to Sammy perform, which is just a viscerally incredible experience.
So immersive, truly.
Yeah.
Incredible pick.
Thank you.
Thrilled. This is great.
Academy voters, I know you listen to our podcast. Remember this come Oscars, because I am like, this Sinners is like my Dune 2 this year, where I'm like, if you fucking forget about Sinners or you
that would be a travesty.
deny its power because it's a genre film, I will never forgive you. So yeah.
My number 3 is from a television series called Lost.
I don't have anything from Lost because I knew you would.
Okay, so this was when I was like, I was going back and forth. I'm like, I know Joe is gonna. I talk about this all the time, so like, I knew you would know I had it, and maybe
I also, similar to my like arbitrary restriction about superheroes, I told myself I was only allowed one Damon Lindelof thing. So
I had this one first, and then I just couldn't leave the leftovers off. So I was like, fuck it,
I celebrate it.
We're going double Damon.
Yeah.
My number 3 is from Lost. Carlos, give us the clip. Okay. This is like a genuine favorite of mine.
Absolutely.
This is from 2005, the season 2 premiere, season 2, episode 1. man of science, man of faith, just a fucking all-timer.
Just an astounding moment in television history, honestly.
Yes, it truly. And that's a big part of why I felt like I knew I would have it on, but I moved it around the list a few times. I'm like, it's got to be top 3 for that reason, ultimately, and some others. This is Desmond playing Make Your Own Kind of Music, Mama Cass Elliott, on the record player as we realize that we have gone into the hatch. So this is just like, it's a banger of a Lost episode. It's a great one. We open on an eye. A different eye.
Who is this?
Computer beeps, as you just saw and heard. Man jumps out of his bunk. He enters the numbers. Presses execute. The beeping stops. He walks over in his boxers and his t-shirt to a record player, and he puts on Make Your Own Kind of Music. And he listens to it as he goes about his routine. He does the dishes. He rides his exercise bike. He does pull-ups. He does the crunches in a way that I can never manage. Makes a smoothie. Takes a shower. Injects himself with a vaccine, and then boom! An explosion pulls the needle off the record. The man suits up. He arms himself. And he looks through a series of mirrors up at our titular man of science and man of faith. There they are, John and Jack. And we realize what is happening. We realize we are in the hatch. We have discovered the hatch in season 1. We had looked down into it. We had looked up at Locke and Jack looking down. But now we're here. We're in it. And there is a fucking person here, and there is a whole world down here. And so it's like an all-time musical moment to me for a lot of reasons. Like, this is one of my favorite shows ever. It's one of our favorite shows ever. We talk about it all the time. You guys know we love Lost. The song is a banger. This is a classic. Like, on my Spotify Wrapped all the time. I just fucking love this song. And my experience with Lost is a huge part of why this song is something that I cherish so much and spend so much time revisiting. And obviously, like, the lyrics are so rich and so significant. Like, from the first bar, nobody can tell you there's only one song worth singing. You know, we're going to build toward, you're going to be nowhere, the loneliest kind of lonely. It may be rough going, just do your thing, the hardest thing to do. And so there's like what it means that Desmond chooses to put this on, picks up that record and puts it on and listens to these words, right? And thinks about these things in his isolation. There's also, though, how it fits the show and the themes and interests of the show more broadly, and how this story that orients so mesmerizingly and fascinatingly around the choices that define so many lives and these people who feel so often so isolated and so alone, and then we and they discover the connections, right, that wound up leading them to this experience and to this place. And it just changed like the fabric of my TV viewing world. It did. Yeah. And like, it opens up the world of Lost and the universe of Lost, but in the way that it does that, it does the same thing for our imaginations, like so spectacularly. The idea of the layers of truth and possibility and reveals and entwinement that can await for you in a story and a mythology and a character set that is crafted with this much intention and care. It's like, the fact that this is the start of the season, I just think it can't be like understated.
So audacious, and we don't know this guy at all.
It's just incredible.
I mean, it's our guy Desmond, but we don't know that yet. So, I knew you would have this. I'm so relieved you have it. It had to be here. It would not have been my Lost pick.
Yeah, there are a lot of contenders from
my Lost pick would be Shambhala, Three Dog Night from Trisha Tanaka is Dead. Just in the same way that I knew you would pick this. Yeah. I think people who have heard me talk about Lost would know that I would pick Shambhala, because in that episode, Trisha Tanaka is Dead, which I talk about a lot as this example of possibility inside of a longer season or whatever. It basically centers around 4 characters, Charlie, Hurley, Sawyer, and Jin, fixing a VW van, and they get it running. And the moment they get it running, the 8-track in the car kicks in, and Shambhala plays. And Jin and Sawyer, who had helped push the van to get it started, Jin's like, Harley, and they like run and they get in the van and they drive around. They've been drinking these like extremely flat, I'm sure, Dharma beers. And it's just like this, to your point about the Green Dragon moment, it's just this moment of joy inside of a world that is so dangerous and so scary. So yeah, that would have been my Lost pick. But there are a lot of great options for Lost. A little Petulia Clark downtown is a fun option, So yeah, Hurley listening to his Discman until it runs out of batteries. There's just some great stuff.
Everybody heads out there.
Everybody, people wanted to talk about Drive Shaft for sure. So yeah. Oh, one of our listeners wrote in, Leah, I think it was, wrote in and was like, she wrote, "Good vibrations, ha ha ha, kill me." That's a very potent moment too. So yeah.
Oh, man. Lost, great show. Watch it if you haven't.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2.
My number 2 is your number 1.
And my number 2 is your number
7 or something like that.
7. So 7 was where we had Avatar: The Last Airbender. This is my number 2.
Mm-hmm. Let's do
I
that.
had no doubt we would have it on both of our lists. Carlos, let's see the clip.
Happy birthday, my son. If only I could have helped you.
Just from like the first
chord
note.
Yeah.
You just want to cry.
Sob. This is from 2006. This is Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Tales of Ba Sing Se. Joe, you want to tell us what this means to you?
Sure. So Uncle Iroh, a shared favorite of ours. So Tales of Ba Sing Se is a really great episode. It has a bunch of little like short stories inside of it. And we have, Uncle Iroh is a character who has like, we know has seen a lot, has experienced a lot, but it has constantly been this buoying source of like, and when we first meet him, it's like this silly old man who loves to eat and drink tea and stuff like that. And, has constantly been this sort of force for sort of like light and positivity. And he spends the day in Ba Sing Se, like being supportive of other people. And then he takes this moment to go up to this hill and honor his son who has died. And he sings Leaves from the Vine. And Mako, the actor who voiced Uncle Iroh in the first couple seasons, passed away shortly after recording this in 2006. But Michael Dante DiMartino and Jeremy Zuckerman wrote this song. It's very simple, very short, but it's gorgeous. And it is, again, one of those vocal performances that is not technically perfect, but is just infused with, he's just weeping as he sings this beautiful song about a soldier boy. And the soldier boy is his son who went to war and didn't come back. And so it's just devastating.
True story. When I opened Netflix and went to the Avatar: The Last Airbender
it was there.
catalog to find this and revisit it, this was exactly what opened because it was the last thing that I had just every now and then I just have to see it.
It was definitely featured in our top Avatar moments.
It did.
We did.
Yes. Yeah. We talked about this together when we were revisiting the animated series ahead of the live action series. And I find this like profoundly, deeply sad and moving. And that episode is wonderful. All of the vignettes are great. The Uncle Iroh vignette, for what you said is, we go from watching him like shift the moonflower that likes the shade, right? And then he's singing this song. He's singing Leaves from the Vine to this crying little kid to try to cheer him up. So we get this like really joyful, kind of peppy, bouncy rendition.
Like the Remember Me sort of.
Yeah. Yes. And then, he guides the soccer benders, the kids, and then he's accosted and what does he do with this would-be thief who is trying to rob him? He counsels him, about his stance. And he says, while it's always best to believe in oneself, a little help from others can be a great blessing. And so we talked about this when we talked about this moment on that prior pod, and you just mentioned this, I'm always so struck by that part of this sequence before we even watch Iroh walk up the hill and kneel in front of the tree to remember his son. The fact that this is undoubtedly the hardest day of Iroh's life every year, right?
Yeah.
His son's birthday. Maybe one of the two hardest days. The day that his son died and then the day that they would have been celebrating his son's life.
Yeah.
And he spends it helping other people. Like, it's just hard to think of too many other ways to show us what somebody's heart holds. And so the buildup is so rich, even though we're talking about minutes.
Right. A vignette inside of a half-hour episode, like a 20-something minute episode of television. Yeah.
And then like we watch him walk up. I'm always so struck by the setting because you have, he's preparing, right? He's setting the rocks and he puts down the cloth and the offerings and his son's portrait and lights the incense. But just the tree and the hill and then the way that the sequence is dappled and full of the setting sun, with the tree and the sun, like, and what he is doing there, remembering his son that he lost, it's like this idea of cycles, right? And rebirth and like the natural order of things and just the subtlety of the presentation of that. When he says, "Happy birthday, my son, if only I could have helped you," like, we're in this moment with Iroh and Iroh's loss. But we're thinking about Zuko. Zuko's not here, but it is a moment that so deeply enhances our understanding of a relationship that means so much to us.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't, the hole that Lu Ten's death left, and they're in Ba Sing Se, this is where his son died. And like, how can this not inform, as we understand Iroh better through witnessing this grief, how can this not better and more fully inform why, beyond just the nature of a family bond, that doesn't matter for a lot of other characters in the show, why he is so desperate to like reach Zuko and to help set him on a better course than the one he's on at that point in the story. So that really like heightens and enhances it for me as well, because Iroh and Zuko are just like my two favorites. I fucking love them.
So important.
And the singing, because we got that version with the little boy in the street, and then we hear the despair and the way we see his tears, and then we hear like he's weeping, he's sobbing, he's mourning so actively that he's like choking out these words. When he says little soldier boy, and the sob kind of chokes the words, it's just devastating. Brave soldier boy comes marching home because he can't come marching home. And like, it is really just, I love this as a, it's touching and it's crushing. Just this idea of like the portrait of grief that other people carry and like you don't always have access to, right? And how lonely and private grief is for people.
Yeah.
And like how worth remembering that is. We don't know what other people carry with them.
Yeah.
So I really
the
love
Uncle
how this
Irohs
moment
of
makes
the
me think of
world.
that.
Yeah. Like the whole thing about Iroh is that like peeling back the layers that, we find out more and more about his strength and his abilities and all this sort of stuff like that. But like, the buffoon, the Falstaff or whatever, becoming this like, deeply tragic, and this insight into him. And that it is expressed in song is such a, privilege, I guess.
We're at our number ones. So your number 2 is my number 1. I don't know what your number 1 is. I'm so excited to find out what order you want to do this in.
Let's do my 2 and your 1 last. I think it's right that we end on that.
Okay. So tell me what your number 1 is.
Carlos, will you please play this clip?
So, here we are in the middle of nowhere, bumping into each other, and I'm only here for the night, and I figured, if I didn't ask you to dance tonight, never forgive myself.
Oh my God, of course.
Here we are.
Absolute perfect. Perfect pick.
I could not do a single clip from the actual scene that I'm talking about because there's music under all of it. So the moment is a shared dance between Nora and Kevin at in the season 3, episode 8, The Book of Nora, the series finale, to Dreams to Remember by Otis Redding, which is playing at a wedding. And Kevin asks her to dance, and they dance. He asks her here to the dance, and she says no. I don't want to spoil all of the leftovers, I guess, but I will just say that Kevin and Nora have been separated in the show since like basically the beginning of the season. So it's one of those like Lindelof did this all the time on Lost. It's like what we were talking about with Station 11, this like reuniting of two characters. For reasons I will not get into right now, Kevin is like pretending they don't know each other very well, when in fact they were a family. She is the face he was thinking of when he was singing Homeward Bound. They have been separated in the time of the show for years and years and years. And some of the best old age makeup I've ever seen in my entire life, like quite subtle, but showing the passage of time. And for Carrie Coon, especially as Nora, there's just like, I mean, Carrie Coon is beautiful no matter what, but there's really like no vanity to Nora at this time in her life. Her hair is grown out and kind of scraggly and gray. She works in the Australian sun, and so her skin is all skin damage. She does show up to this wedding, even though she told him she wasn't going to go, in like trousers and a jacket and a button down, and not a scrap of makeup on her face, or like a sweater and no scrap of makeup on her face. Okay.
My icon and my queen and my role model.
He asks her to dance. She dances with him. The looks that they share, and Justin Theroux in this whole, both of them, but like Justin Theroux's face when he comes to the door in that scene, the clip that we just came from, where he's just like, his lower lip is trembling, like almost through all of it. And then they share this dance. The look that they give each other of like such yearning. You can see the passage of time on their face, the time that they have been separated from each other. The yearning, the mourning, the like what we have lost. And this is the beauty of dance inside of something, is they start dancing cheek to cheek. So then we get to see their faces, the faces that they can't even show each other. They're showing each other a lot of emotion, but then they go face to like cheek to cheek. Yeah. So the camera shows us her face and her absolute collapse, and just sort of, and then his face and his absolute collapse. She like snuggles into him, like breathes into his neck, the scent of this person who was once so close to her. And then she shifts so that her like cheek is pressed up against his chest, and they just like hold each other tighter. And it is so beautiful. And then there is this like devastating, this is not the reunion, because there's a devastating break after this where she asks him why he's there. He perpetuates this lie, this story that he's giving her of like, I was on vacation, blah, blah. She says, I can't do this because it's not true. And she leaves. And then there's more to come after that. But this moment is shot so beautifully. It's a nighttime wedding. The light is gorgeous and golden. Mimi Leader, again, is back as director to sort of give us this vision. I did text our pal, Damon Lindelof, to ask him about this scene. And this is what he said. He said, Otis Redding was always the voice of Kevin's inner pain. I wanted the music over the opening titles to be Nobody's Fault But Mine, Otis Redding. And it worked perfectly, but it would have cost $1 gazillion, and Richter wanted to score it. We used Otis Redding in the pilot, I think, when Kevin and Amy and Jill are eating dinner. We used Otis for the Murphys, too, to connect them to Kevin. But Dreams to Remember was always the one I was saving for the finale. All I knew was that it would bring Kevin and Nora back together, but I didn't have any context yet. And then he says, I'm pretty sure they danced to something else when Mimi shot it. Dreams finally found its place in the edit, as did all the Billie Holiday. And then he texted Mimi Leader to ask her what they played on set. And he says, it was I Will Always Love You, the original Dolly Parton, not Whitney. Oh, wow. All agreed it was a little too, but it had the right cadence. So that would have been not this.
Wow.
This is such, I just cannot describe.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Storytelling, emotional storytelling at its apex, performance from Carrie Coon and Justin Theroux at their apex, a beautiful song, a beautiful setting, romance and yearning, but pain and sorrow also there, and distrust and all these other things. And it's just it does something to me. It had to be my number one, even though like the one we're going to talk about after is like also so important to me, but I couldn't put this any lower than number one. And something I want to mention, a sort of like miracle of peak TV, is that the Leftovers finale, Book of Nora aired on June 2017. In August 2017, in an episode of Twin Peaks: The Return, which is a genre show, the characters of Ed and Norma, to an Otis Redding song, I've Been Loving You Too Long. Ed proposes, they kiss, and Norma says, of course I will marry you. That is a payoff of a love story that's from 25 years previous in Twin Peaks. It is just an incredibly poignant romantic moment. They've talked about filming that scene, that David Lynch was playing the Otis Redding song loudly on the set and weeping like a baby as he was filming this. Again, very romantic, just the mirror of it, like these characters who have waited so long to be together. And the idea that like I often watch the Dreams to Remember dance sequence on YouTube if I want to cry. And then I always chase it with I've Been Loving You Too Long, this sequence from Twin Peaks: The Return. I feel so I asked Damon about this. I was like, because he's obsessed with David Lynch and Twin Peaks. And I was like, what did it mean to you that just like a few months later, coincidentally, right, that one of your mentors used an Otis Redding song to score a very similar sort of moment. And he was like, you know, in his Damon fashion, like, oh, nothing except I was sure that she would say yes when Ed proposed to her or whatever. You know, and then we were just talking about the ways in which he was like, the joy of being a fan is that you can become overly invested in things and like ascribe meaning to them, you know, and he's a Twin Peaks fan. So I don't know. It's all wrapped into a moment of television that we were really lucky to experience. Yeah. The Leftovers feels like a miracle that it ever even happened, let alone ran for 3 seasons. To your point, it's a show I hated in its first season and then became I think this might be my favorite television moment ever.
Wow.
So that is why
that's awesome.
Kevin and Nora dancing to Otis Redding is my number one musical moment of the last 25 years.
Ah, Joe, that was beautiful. What a great pick.
Thank you.
Well, let's stick with Friends of the Pod. Let's talk about Brian Cogman for a minute here, because your number 2 is my number 1. It is Podrick singing Jenny's song, Jenny of Old Stones, in season 8, episode 2, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms from 2019. Carlos, play the clip.
We better get some rest. No, let's stay a bit longer.
We're out of wine.
How about a song?
One of you must know one. This is the night before. This is the night before, the moments before, the final moments before the long night, the Battle of Winterfell. And inside the just, utter morass of season 8, this entire episode and many moments inside of it,
a gift,
just a gift and a jewel, a beautiful jewel. This is a love letter. It is a thank you. And I think we both consider it the proper goodbye to the characters who we had spent so long with and grown to love so fiercely. When we see Tyrion and Jaime and Brienne and Podrick and Davos and Tormund sitting by the hearth here, and this is followed by the Nighting, an all-timer for both of us. And Tyrion asked for a song, and Davos and Brienne and Tormund all pass in their unique fashions. And then Podrick Payne.
You'll pray for a quick death.
Pray for a quick death. Podrick Payne, Daniel Portman, begins to sing. And we hear Jenny's song. We'll get a Florence and the Machine version of it at the end over the credits, but we're talking about the Podrick version here. It's like, it is in some ways very Pippin, Edge of Night, and Return of the King, but like here, the real differentiator is like that it's shared by friends here. No Denethor, no figure like Denethor here in this circle. And the look on Tyrion's face when Pod begins to sing, because he doesn't announce that he's going to, he just starts. And his former squire, there's never lived a more loyal squire, his former squire, and Bran's squire, being the voice in the dark when no one wants to go to sleep, when the world could end at like any moment, and they all know it, and it's all they can think about, and the only thing that they all know to be true other than this horror waits is that they don't want to be alone in the face of it. And they and we are like mourning what we've already lost and also what we fear we might but haven't yet. And that is such a taut intense space to inhabit. And you're also fighting. Like, you're fighting so that you can live and save and protect, and that you're doing it so that people can keep surprising you the way that Podrick surprises them right here. And the lyrics, this is like it's a great moment for book nerds who are like, holy shit, it's Jenny's song. You know, the first line of the song, high in the hills of the kings who are gone, Jenny would dance with her ghosts. We know that line from the books. And then the rest of it is this new thing for us. And we have there are all these moments from the books which maybe we'll talk about more in a minute, but you don't need any of that at all, ultimately. The ones who'd been gone for so very long, she couldn't remember their names, and she never wanted to leave, never wanted to leave, never wanted to leave. That repeats time and time and time again. Like, that's all of them before the fight and before the long night, but it's us too, because we're at the brink of the end of Game of Thrones and what that shared experience was. And the montage that pairs with the song, the pre-battle glimpses, that overhead shot of Gilly and Sam and Little Sam. I think the one that always breaks both of us the most is the look that passes between Theon and Sansa, which just shatters us. Arya and Gendry in bed, Missandei and Grey Worm kissing, Jorah riding into formation. Like, if you come to the scene and you bring to it, like, the ghost of Highheart asking Tom of Seven Streams to sing, and it's like, you know, oh, you want the same one again? Like, oh, my Jenny song, is there any other? And Arya has heard it and we have witnessed that. Or, you know, Rob has said, like, there's a song, Jenny of Oldstones, with the flowers in her hair. And Catelyn says, we're all just songs in the end.
If
we're lucky. Like, if you bring any of that, if you bring who Jenny actually was as a figure in the universe, and Duncan Targaryen and Jenny, and what it means to choose love over your claim and your inheritance, or Jenny's friendship with the Wood Witch who shares a prince that was promised prophecy in the Targaryen line, and the role that plays in the story, and what it means that we go from this scene in the episode into Jon and Dany talking about who Jon is. Like, all of that is, I think, for book fans, kind of like a euphoric, transcendent experience. But the emotional truth of this is there, whether you have read a page of the text or not, because this is about the history with the show and the history with these people. And they're the most important character. No matter how Thrones ended, like, these are the most important characters in the last decade plus of my life. And so this was always going to be the number one for me, because it is a gorgeous rendition and it is stirring and it is soulful, but it honors our time with them and with each other. And so I will just always cherish it. And frankly, the fact that the back half of season 8 is such a letdown actually just makes this moment even more precious to me as a time. Because
you never want to leave this moment inside of the show. We
never wanted to leave. It's just absolutely perfect. It's gorgeous.
I did ask Brian about this, and I will read what he wrote to me. But like, thank you for sharing that. That was so beautifully put, as always. Whenever you talk about Game of Thrones, it's transcendent. I was arguing with Diana inside of our house about this because she's like, how can it not be Reigns of Castamere? And we were upstairs, and she like gestured to this sort of gallery wall we have where there is a Reigns of Castamere, the Lannister sends their regards poster. And she's like, what's on the wall? And I was like, what's on the wall downstairs?
Yeah,
it's a massive oil painting that a listener made for me of this fireside moment.
As you know, I have one too. Commissioned one. Yeah.
And it's like the way in which David Nutter shot it, which is why when I said, I was like, I said it looked like an oil painting to me, and then a listener made this oil painting. Like, it's just this golden circle of light inside of a darker room, and there is warmth there, and there is fellowship. Okay, so this is what Brian said about this. Brian Cogman, who wrote this episode, he said, we always try to find organic places to include the various songs referenced in George's book. I think that song appears in A Storm of Swords. I honestly can't remember when I came to the idea to have him sing a song at that moment, whether it was in the outline stage or when I was writing the episode, but I knew Daniel had a lovely singing voice, and it seemed like a natural place for it. A sort of melancholic epilogue to that little one act that was the fireside chat in that episode. Plus, at that point, and I haven't watched that episode since it aired, so maybe I'm wrong, Pod hadn't really said much in this scene. He's the type to only speak to his betters when spoken to, so I thought it would be a fun surprise. Also pays off a running gag that Pod is always full of surprises. Anyway, I probably scanned the wiki to see which songs we hadn't used, looking for a ballad, and this would have come up. George sometimes has all the lyrics to a song in there, but in this case, it's just the opening phrase.
Yep.
But it seemed perfect because they were all facing certain death the next morning and reflecting on all they've been through. My personal favorite bit is the shot during the montage as he sings of Sansa and Theon silently sharing a meal together in the Winterfell courtyard. So
Same.
I think it's a lovely bit. David Nutter directed it beautifully. And then he says, that episode was my love letter to the cast. So I was happy Daniel/Pod had that moment. And then this is just like a fun fact. He said, now, I had done this before in season 3. I took a fragment of a song, It's Always Somewhere Under the Sea, and that this half-crazed jester sings in the book, and repurposed it as a sort of nursery rhyme for Carrie Ingram to sing as Shireen, and wrote a bunch of new lyrics. I still get ASCAP residuals to this day for that. But that season 8 episode was such a fucking nightmare to write. It was possibly the worst first draft I ever turned in, and I was mentally exhausted. That for the first 2 drafts, I wrote additional lyrics TBD when Pod started singing, intending to come up with the rest later. But then the 3rd draft comes back with the lyrics written by the guys, probably Dan Weiss. And he told me at the time that it was Dan Weiss, probably Dan Weiss, but I'm not sure. Then it became a charting single by fucking Florence and the Machine. Think of the ASCAP residuals, the bastards, but their lyrics are splendid. So, great stuff from Cogman about that. But yeah, this idea that we had like one line of the song and then they write this like beautiful, in terms of like the way in which a song can keep us in a moment, such a strong memory I have, and I wasn't sitting with you at the time, but you might have been in the room. At Con of Thrones, there was this like sort of talent show thing that they did for one of the evenings, and this great Game of Thrones blogger, writer, Petra, got up and sang Jenny of Oldstone's a cappella, and it was gorgeous. It was haunting and beautiful and like didn't need any embellishment to it, similarly to like the way that Pod sings it. And I was just like blown away, but just like so appreciative to just be able to marinate in that moment again, you know, through this beautiful song being sung by someone who loves the show as much as we do. I want to add that, like, you know, we're so lucky to have that moment because we love Jamie and Brienne, and, you know, who doesn't love Tyrion, and Davos is there. It's such a nice group of people that are there. And so many different storylines sort of smashed together in this scene. You know, it's just sort of like, did we think we would ever get all these people, same people around the fire together? I will add one note, which is, I think this would hit even harder if not for the fact that every single one of those people will survive the Battle of Winterfell. They're all fine, but Theon isn't. So, you know,
Jorah.
But Jorah's not in that, like, if someone in that circle, that was like their last night, I think that would like devastate me even more. But is it possible to devastate me anymore? Anyway, this is just,
it's the best.
It's just so good. We both knew immediately that we were going to do this moment. It wasn't even a question for us. You know, with love and respect to the Bear and the Maiden Fair and Reigns of Castamere, which is obviously like very important.
Reigns of Castamere for Diana and everyone else who's like, guys, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Obviously it's here as a smuggle, you know? I mean, I think when the doors close and the strings begin, that is one of those, I mean, it does achieve that thing we were talking about at the beginning of the pod when you can hear just a beat of sound and it takes like, you exactly to a moment and a feeling. Obviously Reigns of Castamere does that. When Thrones was great, it was just the absolute best.
I want to say I was, you know, poking around this song to sort of see what George had to say about it. And in 2000, someone asked him, this sort of goes to what you were saying earlier about long time and adaptation. Someone asked him if we would ever get more lyrics to Jenny of Oldstone. And he says, the chances are not good. I did write a few verses, but they were cut. I wanted that particular song to be very haunting and evocative, and I don't think I quite achieved that. In 2000, he said that. So Thrones gets a lot of shit for the things it did wrong, and rightly so.
Yeah.
But many times over, it gave us things that George for all of his genius, has not been able to. And so the fact that we now have a complete Jenny Goldstone song, and it's beautiful, is important. The fact that like we have a tune to the Rains of Castamere or the Bear and the Maiden Fair or whatever. Like anytime I read them, I can hear, that version of it. Thank you, I think, Ramin Djawadi for all of that. So I think that, the things that the show did very, very well, endlessly. And this is such a good example of it. And to go back to that Catelyn quote of we're all just songs in the end if we are lucky, like this idea of like history is constantly being written. They're on the eve of this, the Battle of Winterfell will become the stuff of ballads. For years and years. I mean, there are dragons in the sky. There's a fire sorceress. There's like all this shit going on. Like the Night King, the ice zombies are here. Like imagine the songs that will be written about that moment. But something that George does, that Tolkien does, is like we're constantly living in history through the ballads that are used inside of these spaces. So
I love that point. And like one of the moments that we get right before we transition into this sequence, I mean, obviously we've already mentioned the knighting and the idea that any knight can make a knight and the connection across character sets. This episode is called A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. We're about to get a show called A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Like,
so excited.
The novellas, everything. But also like one of the moments we get right before this Jenny Goldstone sequence is Sam giving Jorah the sword. And like, the thing that Jorah, who of course has rejected previously taking Longclaw back from Jon. And what Jorah says when he accepts Heartsbane from Sam, like, I'll wield it in his memory, right? And the idea of memory and like Jenny will dance with her ghost. It's like the ghost of the past is why we have this story, the decisions that Rhaegar and Lyanna and everybody before them made. So like it's a beautiful way to tie these characters inside of this television series and this moment of the story. But that's a perfect note, I think, to wrap this up on, the way that it connects to everything beyond that too, because that's what it means for a world to be a world. Like it's a song of ice and fire, the world of ice and fire. Honorable mentions. We've hit a ton of them already, obviously, because we smuggled in a bunch. What haven't we hit that I think we should certainly mention Doctor Who here?
Yes.
12 and Clara. Is it a sad song? Nothing's sad till it's over, then everything is, from Hellbent. That one wrecked me at the time. That was hard to keep off.
That was tough. And when he says, you said memories become stories when we forget them. Maybe some of them become songs. Like, ugh.
I thought you might have the Rasputin dance.
I was sure you'd have the Ex Machina dance. Oscar Isaac dancing in Ex Machina.
So I thought it, I don't think I was being super coy or subtle at the top of the pod when I was like, there were some things that were really hard to leave off, and some of them were memes. So the three things that I was like, I mean, I've already said, I think about like 7 different things. This was the one that was hardest to leave off. So take all of it with a fucking grain of salt as usual. But actually in my top 10 at various points, I had 3 things that ultimately ended up here in the honorable mentions, which feel a little, even though they're all distinct, a little of a piece to me. Nathan's spontaneous dance from Ex Machina, Milchick's music dance experience from Severance, and then the Wigwam Do You Want to Taste It Peacemaker Season 1 opening credits dance, which were all like, what is happening here? Moments that feel to me like they're these bursts of something astonishing, but also outside of the show or film that they exist in, they just feel like internet moments that you're like, I just remember people like trading these gifs and, this became a meme, etc. So they feel kind of connected to me. And I did want to include one or at some point all of them, but I just, I simply couldn't at the end of the day.
My hardest leave off, I haven't mentioned yet. It really pained me. Season 1, episode 1 of Interview with the Vampire, Louis de Pontelac and his brother Paul do a dance at their sister's wedding, and it's like, Louis' last day as a human, and it's this like thing he shares with his brother who's just about to leave this plane, and it's the moment that, and I think about it all the time. To your point about like being surprised when they start dancing, I was watching this with Diana. Diana were watching it, and my voice went into an octave it rarely does. And I was like, are they about to dance?
Yeah.
Is this a musical? Anyway, so I love that moment. Jacob Anderson is great in that experience. And then one of our listeners was like, can we just include the trailer for season 3 of Interview with the Vampire? And I was like very tempted to. Like all of everything that Lestat is about to do in Interview with the Vampire season 3 would have been on this list. So that was my number 1. My number 2 hardest to leave off was from, other than all of the smuggles that we talked about.
Yes.
In the film Stranger Than Fiction, a movie that I love, that I think counts as House of R.
Sure, yeah, definitely.
That Will Ferrell sings Whole Wide World by Reckless Eric on the guitar. It's very like long time. Like very much like a moment where he's just sort of like, he's with Maggie Gyllenhaal. He's like, I can't. And then she goes in the other room to do dishes. And then he just starts playing this beautiful song that I had already loved and a beautiful rendition of it. And then she comes back into the room sort of drawn in by him singing. And then they start making out and they have sex. But like, that. And then from Westworld.
I thought you would have this.
I'm always trying to get what would you pick from Westworld?
I thought you would have something from Westworld.
Yeah. The player piano in Westworld.
The Vampire, actually, but there's so many. It's impossible.
I know. The player piano in Westworld was so important, but there's just this really cool thing they did in season 1. There's this whole heist at the saloon set to a player piano version of Paint It Black. And then in season 2 in Akane no Mai and Shogun World, they do the exact same heist again. Except like Hiroyuki Sanada is here now, in the Hector role, and then they play Paint It Black again, but it's like the Japanese version of the player piano version of. And so when you hear it start, you're like, oh my God, they're gonna do the season 1 saloon heist here again, and it's just like it's so
Great
fucking
shit.
good, really good. I'm Just Ken from Barbie was also very hard to leave off.
It's also here for me, has to be. Well, Defying Gravity from Wicked, instant classic, great stuff.
Golden Years from A Knight's Tale. I love that moment in A Knight's Tale when they start dancing to Bowie. It's very good.
That's a great one. Okay, I think this is eligible because we have talked about Mission Impossible on the pod before.
Okay.
The opera fight.
Yeah. All right. I give it to you.
Yeah, feels like a good honorable mention to have here, I think. Great one. Battlestar, All Along the Watchtower, obviously.
I was actually very surprised you didn't have that.
Yeah, it's... I feel like I would have had to do a little too much equivocating and hemming and hawing about like people's...
It not being a needle drop?
Yeah, it's just... But honorable mention feels like Battlestar might be the thing that ends up making the most like top 10s for me over the course of this exercise that we're doing. So I felt at peace with it here, but obviously that is a central aspect of the show.
Edgar Wright twofer. Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I would do Clash at Demon Head doing Metric doing Black Sheep, or the ensuing guitar fight.
As you know, I really loved the Scott Pilgrim animated.
Yeah,
I really loved I Will Remember You.
Yeah. That's so good.
Fucking great one.
And then my other Edgar Wright would be in Shaun of the Dead, the Don't Stop Me Now zombie fight. That
fantastic
was
one
on my long list.
The Boys, the hospital.
Oh my God,
Frenchie and
I've Got Rhythm.
Great one. Yeah.
I meant to tuck that under my sort of like Buffy musicals episode sort of thing.
Yeah. Yellow Jackets.
I didn't have it on my long list, but we did have a listener suggest it for sure. Any of Misty's musical moments for sure.
Yeah.
We got a lot of nominations for Umbrella Academy. I would say there's a lot of great options. I think We're Alone Now is like the first time they did it, and it's really good. I think all of their musical moments are really good, but there's a Footloose dance battle that happens in like season 3 or 4. I would pick that of all the things. Magnolia, I think, counts because frogs fall from the sky. So I would say Wise Up when everyone starts singing in Magnolia.
I love this.
I loved the use of 5 years time in Superman this year.
Yeah.
I had too many
It's
2025
incredible.
entries, but that's another one where the sound design is really fun. Like that James Gunn said he would not use any needle drops in this, and he got away with it because he's like, oh, these people are just listening to the song. And then as Lois is put into the force field bubble, it becomes the sound opens up and it becomes
So
a needle
good.
drop sound. And then when the force field goes down, it goes back to that sort of tinier, it's actually playing here.
I've listened to that
version.
song a lot since Superman came out. That has a chance to be this year's Spotify Wrapped. You can look at the Wrapped and tell what I watched this year.
It's a great song. I love that song. And like, that was such a great gem from like the early aughts indie scene. And then we got to shout out our guy Doof Warrior from Mad Max Fury Road, right?
It's a must.
How can we not?
Yeah, it's a must. Couldn't end the pod otherwise.
Anything else? I mean, we got so many suggestions from people. What haven't we hit that I feel like we should hit? Oh, there was a moment that I went and looked up and I thought it was really good. It's Mr. Hughes on Twitter suggested In A Quiet Place, John Krasinski and Emily Blunt's characters share earbuds and dance to Neil Young's Harvest Moon. It's a really beautiful moment because like
nice.
The point of A Quiet Place is you have to stay silent.
Yeah.
So she's got the earbuds in. And they're kind of dancing, and then she puts the other one in his ear, and then we can't hear it, and then we hear the music come in, and it's really, really beautiful.
That sounds great. Not a film I've seen, as you know.
Nope.
However, as I believe I've told you, I did watch a lot of it on a person sitting in front of me in an airplane. And I was like,
That's right.
I'm going to expose myself to some of this way. This feels doable.
That's the way to do it. The last thing I
man.
will say from this year that we didn't include that people might say, what the fuck, is K-pop Demon Hunters Golden or
Bangers
take your pick.
only. Yeah.
Great stuff. But for me personally, I'm
a soda pop head.
It's not. No, I mean, I really like it, but I haven't like obsessively rewatched it the way that maybe some parents of small children have. So, yeah.
Adam got me a Derpy t-shirt.
Nice.
I guess it was my birthday recently. Yeah, that
Very
would have been what
nice.
it was. Classic.
Yeah.
I was like, I've watched this movie once, but I didn't really like it.
Yeah.
I didn't really like it. This was the thrill of a lifetime.
There's so many things we didn't get to talk about, and I'm sorry, but we did our best. And this is amazing. Thank you to Carlos for fielding like nearly 20 clips from us last night and or this morning. And thanks to you, Mallory, for I didn't twist your arm. You like and one of our a couple of our bad babies suggested this as a topic. So thank you to the bad babies for writing in about it. You guys are the best. And
An absolute blast. Thank you
this
for
is such a fun project.
sharing your heart with us. This was just lovely. Genuinely lovely.
Watch The Leftovers. Watch Station 11.
I want to go rewatch all of them right now.
Yeah. Watch Midnight Mass.
I don't know if I can handle it. I'm too scared.
No, not you, but
Adam
Adam
loves that, but he'll watch it in a different room.
When are you going to start Buffy the Vampire Slayer season 3?
In
all your spare time.
So this weekend,
Stranger Things.
I'll be finishing the Stranger Things rewatch prep many hours for that, even though it's 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And we've got some movies to watch for next week. But I think next weekend.
Exciting.
It's been painful, especially because we have an Apple TV, so like it flashes like the things where you're like,
do you want to pick up
progress?
on
It's
Buffy?
like taunting me every day. I'm like,
sometime
desperate
perhaps
to
next
return.
year we will get to the musical episode and we can talk about it in full. And I cannot wait for you. to
Perhaps
experience
next
it.
year.
Well, I don't know how long this rewatch
come
project is
on.
going to take.
No.
We have a Game of Thrones show coming. Like, there's a
we have
lot
2.
coming.
Two
yeah,
coming.
we have 2.
We will absolutely. I am often very reticent to commit to timelines publicly. There's zero doubt, barring something that is out of our ability to control in any capacity. There's zero doubt we will finish the Buffy rewatch in the year 2026. Zero.
Okay. I'm just saying.
Zero.
It's a lot of episodes.
It's true, but I can't wait to watch them. All right. Thank you to Carlos. Thank you to John, Arjuna, Jomi, the whole team as always. And thank you to you, Joe, my darling.
Thank you to you, my
musical
dearest.
partner.
Oh my gosh.
Love to harmonize with you.
I know.
You're the best. See you in mere days to conclude our Stranger Things rewatch. I can't wait.
Eddie and his guitar await us. Bye.